It's a vibes. Yes, family, large up yourself, big up yourself. Selah Shalom in the building. Black Raw family. Selah Shalom TV. We inside. It's a vibes. Lawrence, I see you. Peace. It's a vibe, you done know. It's your boy Selah Shalom in the building. We vibing right now. We traveling high in the cosmos as we pick up speed. Look at the speed we picking up. Oh, back to the planet. Oh, we rising up and above from the cosmos, from the earth. We headed to the Etherian realms. That's where we headed, up and outward. Not to return again. Yes, I. Pizza vibes. Yes, I. Selah Shalom TV. According to the text. As it is written. It's a vibes. Yes, family. Yes, family. Big up yourself. Large up yourself, yeah? It's your host, Selah Shalom, chiming in one time. Chiming in one time for the people. What's good, family? Just chiming in for a hot second. Long day, working hard, grinding, doing what I do, doing what we do, making a living. The real, I see you. Peace, God. I see you. What's going on, family? Just decided to get online, you know what I mean? Talk to the fam for a minute. No particular topic, just it's a vibe. See, the whole thing about it's a vibe is just that. You know what I mean? It ain't about academia. It ain't about scholarship. It's about vibing up, freeing the mind, thinking about things that you normally don't talk to on a daily basis with people. You know, we know about history. We know about archaeology. We know about haplogroups in the gene pools, Y chromosome, the X chromosome. We know about the science and all that. But what we really know about is the spirit life, the life of the unseen. Does life exist after death? What happened when we die? You know, that's what this channel is about. You know what I mean? Abnormal activity, spirituality, but done systematically. So we're not just talking about spirituality without having system in order. See, a lot of times when we deal with spirituality, it takes us everywhere. You know what I mean? When you think it's spiritual, you like, plume, it's like you going everywhere. When somebody say I'm consciousness is like space. It's like everywhere. But spirituality is systematic, just like physicality. So the same way we exist on a foundational plane, which we call the earth, likewise do the spirits or the angels or the ancestors reside on a foundational plane, which we call plateaus or heavens. See, and that's another vague term, heaven. When we say heaven, in Hebrew, Shemaim, or in ancient Egypt, Nu, meaning the cosmos, it just means sky. Heaven means sky in Hebrew. Shemayim means sky. So that's still a vague statement, you know what I mean? Because when we think of the sky, we just look at, just empty space. But in the Oahspe, it's funny because Jehovah says, think not that my sky is a barren wasteland. For, I made this world, I made the atmospherian world just as adaptable as the physical world. So that's one of the biggest mysteries of life, the life after death. Do we live after death? Or not only do we live after death, what is the foundational plane of life after death? Do we got houses? Do we have homes? You know what I mean? These are the questions that people who really dwell on these things ask. Some people make fun of it, like, oh, y'all niggas talking about spirituality, spookism. Ain't no life after death. When you're dead, you're dead. You got those believers too. And it's funny enough, Oahspe talk about those type of believers. Peace, Queen. I see you. Kalula, I see you. In the wish of goat, I see you, sis. That's what I'm talking about. Peace, Queen. Yeah, so the spirituality is something that people deny because it's an unseen factor. It's a factor that we can't detect with the five senses, but we can't see. So it's easy to believe something when you can't see it or identify with it. It's easily dismissed. You can't prove it. How can you prove something that you can't see? Well, this is the way the beauty of the Oahspe comes in at, because everything is proven through three primary things. And those three primary things that all creation is proven on is first, the periodic table of elements. Now, the periodic table of elements is the physical makeup of everything in creation. So we can't talk about creation without talking about the elements. So similar rules will apply in a spiritual aspect. We can't talk about spirituality without talking about the fundamental makeup, the fundamental principles that make up spirituality. And just like the physical world, the spiritual world is a reflection of the physical world. So if the physical world has a kingdom, and for that kingdom to even exist, it had to be built by people, and the people who built that kingdom had to get the materials for that kingdom to be built. And all that is done systematically, system in order, rules and regulations in mathematics and science. What makes you think the spiritual world will be any different? The spiritual world is the exact same. It's based off of principles, rules, material, foundational things. We call the sky, what's that? Quaila? An Eskimo? Okay, in the Eskimo language. Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, so you got different descriptions for the heavens according to different languages. Give me 1 minute, y'all. Let me go grab my lighter, because man, if I light in the spliff, So let's reside in the cosmos till I get back. Boom! It survives, family. Boy. Yes, family. It survives. Yes, family, back at it. You know what I mean? But like I said, the spiritual and the physical coincide with one another. We just not accustomed to the spiritual, so we deny it. See, the physical comes first, then the spiritual. The natural, then the spiritual. Because the physical world is preparation for the spiritual world. The physical world is a reflection of the spiritual world. The only difference is that the spiritual world is moving at a faster vibrational frequency than the physical world. And the spiritual world, the expansion is greater than the physical world. You dig? So with that, a lot of people deny the spiritual side or the spiritual science due to one thing, religion. Religion kind of messed up a lot of stuff spiritually because they took away science from the concept of God. Like they want you to believe, or the creator, I should say. So they want you to believe that the creator and science is one that does not coincide with each other. But that got to be farthest from the truth, because in order for creation to be created, that's a part of science. When two elements come together, that's science. Angelica, I see you. What's good, fam? When two elements come together and start the building blocks of what we call life, that's science. According to your Bible, when God said, let there be light, and the light was separate from the darkness, that's science. Because it's a manufacture and a function how these things are done. These things just ain't let there be light and then there was light. No, it's a product and manufacture. So the same rules apply with the spiritual world. In the Oahspe, when it talks about his 3 great estates that he gave to man, where it's at in the book of Jehovah. In the book of Jehovah, chapter 3, verse 8 states, think not, O man, that I created the sky a bearing waste and void of use. See that? Because that's exactly what we think when we look up at the sky. We see the sky, it's void. It would seem useless, not useless in the sense that it has no use, but it's just vague. There's nothing going on up there. That's what, when we look upward, we see nothing going on. So by us seeing nothing, we automatically assume that there's no activity going on in space or in heaven. So it says, think not, O man, that I created the sky a bearing waste and void of use. Even as man in the corporeal form is adapted to the corporeal earth, so is he in the spiritual form adapted to my etherian worlds. 3 great estates have I bestowed on man, the corporeal, the atmospherian, and the etherian. So right there, the Creator's letting you know that don't think by any chance that just because you see barrenness in the void sky, that ain't nothing going on. Keep in mind, the atmosphere is moving at a faster vibrational frequency than visible light. The reason the sky is blue is because of the electromagnetic spectrum. The earth, the sun's vortex, the earth's vortex, all the vortex express color. So when you see the sun at high noon and it's yellow, and you see the sun at evening and it's orange, that's due to the vortexian current. The vibrational frequency moving at a faster rate, the sun is yellow. When the vibrational frequency is moving at a slower rate, the sun is red because the wavelength is longer. So this is a science, but we don't see those wavelengths. We don't see the wavelengths that makes the sun yellow. We don't see the wavelengths that makes the sun red. But we observe the transition. Look at the sun when the sun rises, when it's yellow. When it's orange. Red. When it's like a reddish color at sunrise. And then if you was to observe it from sunrise going into high noon to about like 11:10, and you watch the transformation from the sun going from reddish to bright yellow. Watch the transformation when they take 2 hours and just watch. Get you some shade and just watch the sun transform from red to yellow. But you don't see the vortexian currents or the electromagnetic frequency causing that. You just observe the physical response from that which is unseen, being the vortex. So the vortexian frequencies, which is unseen to the naked eye, is moving at a slower vibrational frequency at the sunset and the sunrise, and it's moving at a faster vibrational frequency at high noon. But those vibrational frequencies is unseen to man, but we see the effect of the color spectrum from the electromagnetic spectrum. So with that, the angels or the spiritual world is in that department. It's in the unseen. It's in the realm unseen to the naked eye. And the only way we can detect the unseen is through physicality until we become unseen and exist in the realm. Because once you become unseen, existing in that realm, you will see things in the realm. That's why it's called unseen. You know what I mean? You're still seeing things in the realm. So you got the seen and the unseen. Seen means you could visibly see something. Unseen means you see something that is not physically seen, but what we would consider in the invisible, or the electromagnetic frequencies existing outside of visible light. That's where the spirits dwell, and the electromagnetic frequencies existing out of visible light. That's why a lot of time when you look at these ghost hunter shows and these shows where they try to pick up on spirits, what do they have? They have a machine to pick up on infrared frequency. But they dealing with low vibrational frequency, and sometimes they'll deal with the gamma rays, the higher frequencies, to pick up on what? Spirituality. They send vibration, they send electromagnetic frequency in the cosmos to pick up on what? To see if there's other intelligent life out there using the electromagnetic frequencies. See that? Exactly. So with that, like I said, the sky is not a barren wasteland. It's just moving at a vibrational frequency outside of visible light, so we can't see the spiritual structures. We can't see the houses and the homes in the spiritual world because the material, the gases, is moving at a faster frequency. So the materials to be manipulated in the realm is moving so fast we can't see it. Just like if I take this lighter, this phone, these are material things, but we can see these things. But if I was in the spiritual world, it'll be the exact same thing as this. I'm picking up materials in the spiritual world that is just as tangible as this, but we're moving at a vibrational frequency so fast that the physical world can't pick up on it. We can't see it. So you can literally have beings around you doing the exact same thing we're doing in a sense of tangible things, tangible to the touch, and they outside of the spectrum of visible light. They can't see us, so we can't see them in the realm. So if we exist in 700 to 300 nanometer, we exist in that realm. We see everything and hear everything in that realm. But those existing outside of that realm, they can't see us, but they exist in the realm just as material as our realm. See that? As above, so below. Yashra Allah, I see you. Peace, King. Yazo Fitz 12, I see you, King. No doubt. And the symbol of the spiritual world, because like I said, when you say spiritual, it takes you everywhere. It's abstract. See, abstract thinking is Western thinking. Western thought and Western thinking is thought where you could speak, where you could use things that is not identifiable by the five senses. See, Eastern thinking and Eastern thought is concrete thinking, meaning that when you spoke in antiquity, you had to be able to identify what you're saying. They didn't believe too much in the unseen. If you believed in the unseen, you had to show and prove it in the seen. So if you talk about spiritual, how would you prove spiritual in antiquity? Because you in Western thinking, you can say spiritual and it's like, oh, okay, spiritual. But in Eastern thinking, if you say spiritual, you would have to demonstrate what you mean. Like, what is spiritual? So spiritual, the word spirit, ruach, is air. Inhale, exhale, that's a demonstration of the ruach. That's a physical demonstration of something spiritual. So in the Eastern thought, you would have to physically demonstrate that which is spiritual. You know what I mean? Because the parallels are the same. It's only when we came to Western thought, when spirituality became spooked out, it became unidentifiable. Shalom, Yashra Allah. We got two Yashra Allahs in the building. Israel is in the building. Shadrach, I see you. See you. What's up, fam? Just up here talking about the unseen, to show that the unseen is not spooky. The unseen is seen. That's why the word seen is in unseen, because you're seeing things in the realm. It's just outside of visible light. So the ancestors, like this ancestor right here, let me go and show the ancestor that I showed the other day when I was talking about the spirits of the dead and the UFOs and the chariots. So this ancestor that I'm about to show you, that I showed, let me see where it's at. This ancestor right here, that I showed the other day. This ancestor exists outside of visible light, but she is visible to us. But she is visible to the point where we could see her, but we could see through her, because you could see through her. You can see the door in the background, you can see the frame, everything back. So you're looking directly through her. So if visible light is 700 to 300 nanometers, so 700 nanometers is where the vibrational frequency starts slowing down. So 800 nanometers is basically when the vibrational frequency is slow. It's like infrared. Then you got infrared, microwave, and extra low frequency on the electromagnetic spectrum. So if we could see her 700 nanometers, keep in mind 700 nanometers is visible sight, where you could visibly see something. So if she is able to be seen, that means her spirit is moving at a vibrational frequency within a spectrum of 700 nanometers. Within the borderline of that, because we could see through her. So she's still visible, but she's still in the unseen, but visible. So that means the electromagnetic frequency that she's vibrating at got to be within a range of let's say 750, 725, 775 nanometers. Just enough to be seen, but still unseen, as an example of this picture. So yeah, that's the spirit science. Spirituality is not spookism. It's science. It's science. It's construction. It's manufacture. It's a function. It's a season. It's a cycle. It's a system. It's an order. And once you understand the unseen order of creation, then you could better understand the physical aspect of creation. Because the earth was created by an unseen force. Everything that is physically seen was created by an unseen force. And this unseen force is what we call the vortex. The vortex is unseen to the naked eye. We get demonstrations of the unseen vortex through the hurricane, through the whirlwind. Just like Jehovah say right here. Just like the Creator here saying in chapter 3 of the book of Jehovah. He said, "Thus spoke Jehovah, by the light of Cosmon proclaim he these things amongst the nations of the earth. Man looked upward, desiring to know the manner of all created things, both on earth and in heaven. And Jehovah answered him, saying, The whirlwind made I as a sign to man of the manner of my created worlds." So the whirlwind is a sign of the manner of his created things. See, that's the reference. See, in the Oahspe, the Creator uses creation for his reference. We don't have to go into no encyclopedia, to no PhD scholar work to reference the whirlwind. The whirlwind is a demonstration given by the Creator in nature. So the reference of the manner of all created things is given through the whirlwind. Where do we see whirlwinds in nature? We see them in hurricanes, we see them in tornadoes, cyclones, and so forth. And when we look at galaxies with these big-ass telescopes, you see the spiral in the galaxy showing you the vortexian current, even in space. So we have it in nature and we have it in cosmos, the demonstration of the whirlwind, which is the unseen cause of things seen. So like the verse said, "The whirlwind made I as a sign to man of the manner of my created worlds, as though beholds the power of the whirlwind gathering up dust of the earth and driving it together." See, that's the key right there. It says, as you behold the power of the whirlwind. So that's like beholding the power of the vortex, the unseen force, the wind. And what does that wind do? It gathers up dust. And it's trapped. That dust gets caught up in the whirlwind and precipitated to the center. So the unseen is moving the scene. What is the scene? The gas, solid, the liquids. But this is just an example of the unseen creating that which is seen. So the whirlwind made I as a sign to man. The whirlwind made I as a sign to man of the manner of my created world, as though behold the power of the whirlwind gathering up dust of the earth, driving it together. Know that even so do I bring together Aja, Jaya, and Nebula in the firmament of heaven. By the power of the whirlwind created I the corporeal sun, moon, and stars. So there you have it right there. By the power of the unseen, the whirlwind, the vortex, created he the sun, moon, and stars. So in order for a human being to exist, he has to have a foundation, which is the earth. So the earth has to be created for that human being to have a foundation, even to use the elements of the earth to even be created. So with the angels, it's the same thing. The angels are just not sitting around floating in space, just sitting in thin air. They have a foundation, just like we got a foundation. They are made out the elements of that foundation, just the same way we are made out the elements of the earth. They are made out the elements of the heavenly material in the realm. Shani, I see you. How can angels, demons help, hurt, influence us if cannot see us? I'm confused. Yeah, because there's certain benefits, it's certain what's the word I use? There's certain benefits that come with the spirit world. There's certain advantages that come with the spiritual world. So as I use the electromagnetic spectrum as a demonstration to show that the unseen moves at a faster vibrational frequency. So when something is moving at a faster vibrational frequency like the air, you could move through the air. The spirits could move through people. They engraft themselves on mortals. It's called engraftment. Where they can inspire mortals by engraftment. I can read a verse where it talks about reincarnated spirits or engrafted spirits, so you can get a idea of how spirits embody themselves on mortals to gain influence. Let me go to the Book of Judgment. I think I read this yesterday. Let me go to the Book of Judgment where it demonstrates and gives you an example, just to answer that quick question, of how demons can influence and hurt. So let's see here. Where we at with it? Let me grab it from here. Yeah, I'm going to show you in the Oahspe how these false gods and all these fallen angels, I should say, inspire mortals. Let me go to the Book of Judgment. Yeah, we're going to clear up any confusion. We're going to make it make sense. We're going to drop this knowledge and information. So check it. You ask, how do angels hurt people if they're not seen? So it states here, this is in the Book of Judgment, chapter 4, verse 11. It states, but of such as are below grade 1, there are more than 6,000 million, being mostly such angels as know nothing more than babes or babies, though for the most part they were full-grown adults to earth life. All right, now here's the point. Some are fetals, referring to the angels, which is unseen to humans. Some are fetals. Some are engrafters, professional reincarnators, who dwell with one mortal during his lifetime and then engraft themselves on another mortal during his lifetime, and so on, calling themselves reincarnated. So there is the fact that these spirits can engraft themselves on mortals and inspire mortals being engrafted on them. Just like in the movie The Exorcist, when the girl got obsessed by the spirit and the spirit took over her body and embodied her. That's an example of what I'm talking about. That's how unseen forces can engraft themselves on you and inspire you, good or bad. And The Exorcist is just an example. That's why they call them exorcisms, because they're trying to get the demon out of your body because it engraft themselves on you. So that's what the spirits of the dead who are not on the way of resurrection or not in the ways of resurrection, and if they're lingering, that's what's going on. Yes, they read and feel frequency, yes, because they are frequency. The spirits are moving at 2 vibrational frequencies outside of visible light. Outside of visible light, see, 700 to 300 nanometers is visible light, but it's moving at a faster rate at 300 nanometers. At 700 nanometers, it's moving at a slower rate. So, in spirituality, just like in health, your body has to be circulating at a certain speed in order to operate properly, right? So if your body starts to, if your blood circulation slows down and starts to stagnate, that could cause damage to your organs, that could create sickness and disease. But if you maintain that circulation, then you ain't got to worry about falling in that realm of sickness and disease. But if you increase your circulation, to increase it is to give more oxygen to the cell to give greater life. So using that as an example to say that the spirits exist that are on a higher level, they exist within 200 nanometers, 100 nanometers, and going lower. The lower the nanometers, the faster the vibrational frequencies. The higher the nanometers, the lower the vibrational frequencies. So our vibrational frequencies is 300 to 700 nanometers. So 300 nanometers is moving like this, 700 nanometers is moving like this. And everything within is the vibrational frequency that we see, the color spectrum and all that. So angels that are bound, that are roaming, that are kind of lost, they're moving at a slower vibrational frequency within that unseen realm. They're moving in the frequency of if you were to look at the electromagnetic spectrum, they'll be moving in the infrared, the extra low frequency, the microwave frequency. Those are the frequencies of low vibrational frequency. But the higher frequencies is like ultraviolet frequency, gamma ray frequency. Those are your higher frequencies. Those are the frequencies that the angels that are resonating on a higher level, they are in that realm. If you notice, we can't look at gamma rays and ultralight rays. That shit'll burn us. X-rays and shit like that. That shit'll fuck you up if you look at that shit too long. If you're in that vibrational frequency for too long, it'll fuck up your body because the vibrational frequencies is moving so fast that it's causing disturbance in the frequencies that your body exists in. So this shit is science. And the science that we're dealing with is the electromagnetic spectrum. That's just one aspect. It's three aspects to creation that everything falls under, whether if it's physical or spiritual. And those three things, first is the electromagnetic spectrum, which is the vibrational frequency of everything in creation, seen and unseen. Seen is where terrestrial, physical, human beings, flesh and blood exist, and the unseen is where the angels and the ancestors exist. So that's the one key of life. The second key is the periodic table of elements, which is the physical manifestation of everything in creation, seen and unseen. Gold can be expressed in solid, liquid, and gas. Gas is the unseen. So you have gold in the unseen, which is the gaseous state. Every mineral that is expressed on the periodic table exists in the gas state, which is the unseen. And then the third coincide with when you have organic life, which is the pH scale. That's when a planet comes into its vegetated state. Because when a planet is created, it goes through a stage of the vortex, the ball of fire, the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom. After the vegetable kingdom comes the animal kingdom. But in order for the animal kingdom to thrive, it is solely based on the vegetable kingdom. So the vegetable kingdom have to be suitable and digestible for humans and animals to eat for their survival. So the vegetable kingdom is detrimental to the existence of mammals and reptiles, or humans and animals. And then the mineral kingdom is detrimental to the vegetable kingdom, because it's the mineral kingdom that is supplying the vegetable kingdom minerals digestible for animal and man. So, with that being said, the vegetable kingdom has to be at a pH suitable for man to eat so he can be healthy. This is where the third principle comes in at, which is the pH scale, the balance of life and death. If you're too acid, you're going to have sickness and disease. If you're alkaline, you're more in a pure and healthy environment, but you got to meet that in the midway. The midway mark is 7. On the pH scale, it goes from 0 to 14, 7 being the midway mark, 7 being the balance of ma'at. The pH scale is the original ma'at. 7, when you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, or the color spectrum of the pH scale, 7 is green. Green determines life. Green determines vegetation, and that determines our existence, because without vegetation, we can't eat no food, we can have no existence. See that? So, it's a system in order to creation, whether it's seen or unseen. In the unseen, the angels got to sustain their spiritual bodies the same way we got to sustain our spiritual body, our physical bodies. You think angels don't eat? Show me one human being that don't eat food and exists. So what makes you think the angels ain't the same? What makes you think in the spiritual world that the angels do not have to sustain themselves with food in the realm the same way we got to sustain ourselves with food in the realm? And as an example of that, to show you about the spiritual food. In the book of in the book of Constantine, chapter 3, verse 27, Jehovah said, "From the trees, the fruits, the flowers, the grains, the seeds, the roots that grow in the ground, have I created a ceaseless harvest going upward into the atmosphere." So let's stop right there. The Creator is letting you know that grains, seeds, roots, fruits, trees, and flowers, all those things radiate and evaporate. They radiate an odor into the atmosphere. Like I said, the same way you could smell a mango and the rich smell of mango and the rich smell of some of these fruits, that smell that you're smelling is unseen. You can't see the odor of that mango, but that mango is letting off a vapor, and that vapor we can smell. Now that vapor, which is unseen to us, but seen to the spirits, it says here, "Have I created a ceaseless harvest going upward into the atmosphere, which shall be sustenance of the spirits of men and women and children newborn in heaven." So here it's showing you that those vapors that we smell off for fruits is the sustenance of spirits newborn in heaven. As above, so below, as above. So it's showing you through the vegetation how the aroma of the vegetation, how the vegetation lets off an aroma, and that aroma is sustenance in the atmosphere for the spirits of the dead. See that? See how the physical world is actually supplying the spiritual world? Spiritually with food, atmospherically with food. But it says here, "But whosoever feast on flesh shall not find spiritual food in heaven, but he shall return to the butchers and eating houses where flesh is eaten, and he shall feast on the atmospherian parts thereof." See that? It said he shall feast on the atmospherian parts thereof. What do you mean by that? You ever smelt a dead animal? And that odor you smell, the vapors coming off of that dead animal, which is unseen. You can't see the vapors, but you smell it. Just imagine you got to sustain off of that atmospheric vapor for your sustenance as a newborn spirit, being a carnivore when you was alive on earth. Having a carnivorous diet, when you cross over in spirit, you're going to have carnivorous foods, atmospheric foods, odors from foods that radiate off of dead animals in order to sustain yourself once you cross over in spirit newborn. See, Oahspe goes deep with this shit. As above, so below, as above. Spiritual death, exactly. You got spiritual death. You got spiritual diseases. The same way we got physical diseases, you got spiritual diseases. Hold on one second. Let me grab me something to drinky. Hits our vibes. But yeah, though. You got spiritual death. You know what I mean? So like I said, though, the foods in heaven is part and partial, part of the foods on earth. So if you a heavy carnivore on earth, when you cross over in spirit momentarily, you're going to have to be sustained. So all the places that cook foods where animal is slaughtered at, like when you go to Burger King and McDonald's and you see the little chimney and the smoke coming out the chimney and shit from all the broiler from the beef cooking and the chicken cooking and the fries cooking and all that smoke coming up, that's sustenance for the spirits of the dead. Yup. There's so many factors to this, but this is just a general explanation to show you how it works. Because you got spirits that go in colonies with themselves. You got spirits that are engrafted on mortals. And then they move and feast through that. You know what I mean? So it's levels to this shit. I'm about to detox. That's right. Because see, when you detox, you have a better chance of the angels giving you inspiration. Because in the Oahspe it talks about how the holy angels cannot approach you if you ain't healthy. Let me see if I can find that verse right quick. I was like, damn, okay. So it's levels to that shit. Some people may be further than others. Some people may, you know what I mean? Regardless of what, as long as you're working to get there, that's the point. You know what I mean? So right here, like in the book here, like in the book of, what's this? In the book of Judgment, chapter 18, verse 11, it states, Verily I say unto you, ye have not fulfilled the first law, which is to make clean your own corporeal bodies, because ye have stuffed yourselves with carnal food, flesh and blood food. My holy angels cannot approach you. See that? You know, why you don't believe in angels? Well, I don't believe in angels. I don't see angels. But you eating a steak, you eating chicken, you eating fried chicken, you eating your hot wings. But what did the verse say? Verily I say unto you, you have not fulfilled the first law, which is to make clean, your own corporeal bodies. Because ye have stuffed yourself with flesh food, carnal food, meat, chicken, beef, pork. My holy angels cannot approach you. Neither can your understanding approach the place of my kingdoms. See that? So the Oahspe shows you the importance of diet. It shows you the importance of staying away and sustaining from flesh and blood. So, you know what I mean? You want to stay away from that because that's going to help keep your body pure. The more you purify your body, the better you have the chance for the holy angels to approach you or inspire you for whatever the cause may be. But this is the Creator saying that this is the reason why my holy angels cannot approach you, because you have stuffed yourselves with carnal food. Nigga, we go to Red Lobster, we go to this place, we go to that place, and we eat until we stuff ourselves carnally. So we so wrapped up in the carnal world that we disconnected to the spiritual. And like I said, carnal food, flesh food, it slows down the vibrational frequency of your body. The vibrational frequency of your body starts with your blood. Your blood is everything. You know what I mean? Your circulatory system, your blood system is everything. Without your blood circulating, you can't exist. So if your meat, the pork, the chicken, the beef, it produces mucus, it produces fat in the bloodstream, clogs your arteries, slow down your arteries, creates blood clot in the arteries. Then that start interfering with your heart and your heartbeat. You start getting irregular heartbeats. You start getting heart failure because you're not getting enough blood to the heart. And when you don't get enough blood to the heart, it goes into a panic. It's gonna start beating faster because it's looking for blood to supply itself. So these are all the conditions you're gonna get from eating that flesh and blood over the years. But if you cut back on the flesh and blood, the chicken and the meat, the beef and pork, and you start detoxing and you start changing your diet, making them changes, you're gonna notice that. So you're gonna notice it yourself. You're gonna start feeling better. You're gonna start dropping the weight. You know what I mean? And then you just want to be doing that continually until it becomes your lifestyle. And that's why a lot of times when the prophets heard the word of God, they were elderly men, because they had to spend a lifetime purging their body, getting their body right. So by the time the niggas hit 60, 40, 80, whatever the years may have been, they start hearing the voices of the angels. Then they start hearing the voices of the angels. Yeah, you got to detox this diabetes out of you. All right, so if you're dealing with diabetes, that got to be something you eating or drinking that's a lot of sugar. Because diabetes is basically when, you have sugar dehydrating your pancreas. And sugar comes in two forms. You got sugar that comes in the oxide sugar. The oxide sugar is the acid form of sugar. And then you have the alkaloid, the alkaline form of sugar, like the sugar that comes out of, let's say, like watermelon, out of fruits. Those sweet sugars you get out of fruits, that'll never give you diabetes because that's an alkaloid form of sugar. But the oxide form of sugar, like your table sugar, that's an oxide form of sugar. Any chemical chemical, basically somewhat laboratory-based sugar, is going to fall on the oxide. So the oxide sugar, what it's going to do is going to dehydrate the pancreas. And through the dehydration of the pancreas, it's going to stop the pancreas from producing insulin. You know what I mean? Insulin is a fluid that's there to lubricate, keep the pancreas or whatever hydrated. So once you cut out, if you're drinking like coffee, soda, you know what I mean? You cut those things out, you'll notice the difference. If you drinking or eating foods or drinking sweets, heavy sweets, you know what I mean? It could trigger those things. But once you hydrate the pancreas through oxygen from iron, it's gonna hydrate the pancreas, and through the hydration of the pancreas, it's gonna start producing insulin on its own. Word. But yeah, it's a life process, you know what I mean? It's a life process. And some things could come through hereditary, through the genetics, but you could correct it. Everything is not hereditary, but you could correct it in your generation. It's just changing up the diet. Because a lot of times our forefathers, we had a diet, depending on where you're from. I'm from the Caribbean, so we have a heavy starch-based diet. Caribbean people eat starches like that's their foundational food. Rice, beans, you know what I mean? Goat, chicken, and you know what I mean? Pork, beef, fish. That's the curry, you know what I mean? That's the diet of the Caribbeans. But then when you come to the South of America, like in the South, you got the soul food. You got your mashed potatoes, your beans, you know what I mean? Your barbecue chicken, barbecue this, barbecue that, you know what I mean? Mashed potatoes, sweet potato pie, you know what I mean? So you got hereditary conditions coming from that type of diet. So and then then you got the Italians. They eat heavy sauce, cheese, pizza, lasagna, spaghetti. So you'll find a lot of Italians suffering from, you know what I mean, heart conditions of clogged arteries, because that's what that type of diet comes with. You know what I mean? So depending on your diet and your culture and your customs, such would be the condition and the disease that comes with it. So if you got a background of a lot of sweets, you may find diabetes running there. You know what I mean? If you come from a background of a lot of starches, you know what I mean? You may find yourself constipated, anemic, low on iron. You know what I mean? Depending on what you grew up on. But you got to make the change. You know what I mean? You got to make the change, because once you make the change, you know what I mean? If you stop eating meat, you get married your girl and she agreed to it and y'all do it, then when y'all have y'all offspring, that child gonna come out healthier. You know what I mean? That child gonna come out healthier. But just because you're vegetarian don't mean you're automatically healthy. You gotta nourish your body with the minerals. The greatest form of getting your minerals is gonna come from, you know what I mean, the herb kingdom. Herbs got the strongest form of minerals. Fruits is nutritious. They keep you hydrated. They got the highest forms of oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. When you look at fruits and you look at the minerals for fruits, it's going to be hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon as the base foundation. That's going to be the highest percentage in the fruit. And then it's going to be other traces of smaller minerals like iron, you know what I mean? Like iron in fruits is there, but iron in herbs is higher. It's greater. Like yellow dock is great iron in yellow dock, burdock. Iron is blood. Like I said, the periodic table of elements, that's one of the the second principal thing in creation. The periodic table of elements. The periodic table of elements is the physical makeup of everything in creation. So that means if your blood is a part of something in creation, it has to play a part on the periodic table of elements. So iron is blood, and blood is iron. So in order to keep the iron in your blood renewed from and recycled, it comes from the herbs. Sea moss is high in iron. You know what I'm saying? So you just determine, you know what I mean, what foods that suit you, that you could sustain off and go crazy on. Like, you know, if you like watermelon, the nigga OD on the watermelon. If you like mangoes, OD on the mangoes. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's the same thing. Yeah, moringa good too. Moringa is high in iron. You know what I'm saying? Iron is the only mineral that is magnetic. Iron is a magnetic mineral. When you look at a magnet, iron is the iron is the benefactor of a magnetism. Iron is behind magnetism. Iron is the only mineral that draws other minerals to it. Dr. Sebi explained that. But even then, if you just look at a magnet itself, a magnet is iron based. If we have a vortex and everything is ingrided, iron has to be present. But within the vortexian state, which is the unseen, the gaseous state, it's a vibe, conscious flow, Messiah, we're going. Wagwan. Spiritual death, does that mean that the spiritual isn't eternal? Well, spiritually death could mean, in a sense, like you're not spiritually growing, you're stagnating in the grade. So it's like you're dead to the world, or you're like when somebody say, "Oh, you dead to me, man. I ain't fucking with you no more, man. You don't exist." In that sense, because there is spiritual dissipation, though. Don't get me wrong, but man has come to a point where he's conscious enough to elevate and progress spiritually. But there was a time in antiquity, like in the early races of man, where man's spirit could dissipate and dissolve. Matter of fact, I'll do a documentary on that sooner or later. But at this point, man is conscious enough for him to spiritually progress and sustain himself after life. We have reached that point in our human, or as a whole race, or as a whole mortal race, we have met the point where we can sustain independently in the spiritual world, due to the help of the angels from the Creator. Shit get deep, yo. Matter of fact, it was a question. Somebody asked that question. In the story of the prophet named Capilia. And that question was raised about the spirit dissipating or going out of existence. He was like, yeah. And I was like, damn. But like I said, for the most part, most mortals are at the point where they could exist independently in the spirit world. We have come to a point consciously where we have been educated and taught enough to know how to sustain. Now, if we was to fall back in a barbaric state and we lost language, we lost alphabet, and we out here living like the animals, then yeah, our spirit could possibly dissipate because it's not resurrecting. Nor is there a way for man to resurrect. It's like trying to get a monkey to understand mathematics, slangs, and how to build houses. It's not going to happen. His brain is not functioning. His consciousness is not there. So I was like, damn, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. But the story of Capilia in the Oahspe is a dope story. That's one of the prophets who rose up during the time of Moshe. So when Moshe was doing the Exodus and doing the whole thing in Egypt or Israel, you had a prophet named Capilia doing a similar thing in the land of Egypt. So here in that story, this is during the 15th century BC, according to the Oahspe, the 24th arc cycle. At the beginning of the 24th arc cycle, which is 1556 BC, which is the same time of the Exodus of Moses. But this is going on in India. But this is the question was raised. The question was raised by the king. And this is in the book of the Ark of Bond, chapter 10. Chapter 10. Chapter 10, verse 10. It reads, the king said, since thou says, so it must be so. I thought sometimes they might be different, being that dwell in the air and never dwell here. Here's the question. Says thou Capilia, all souls are immortal? So that's the question he asked the prophet, Capilia. Are all souls immortal? Here's the question in response. Capilia said, They are so born into life. Nevertheless, not all inherit everlasting life. Even as the body goes into destruction, so can the spirit of man dissolve out of being. The fruit of them that have attained to faith in everlasting life is safe. But for them that have fallen from faith in everlasting life and from faith in the Creator, I pity them and their hairs. See that? So there go your answer. If your ass ain't got faith in the Creator, beware. So strengthen your faith in the Creator so your ass don't dissolve out of being. Here's another question the king asked. Capilia, Angelica, no doubt. You know what it is. Verse 12. The king said, why do the oracles tell lies? That's interesting. They are the words of angels. So the king is asking, why do the oracle tell lies? Now you remember in the Bible, it talks about lying spirits. Let me get that right quick. Because the king said, why do the oracles tell lies? Now, who are the oracles? The oracles are those responsible for hearing the voices of angels. That's what oracles are. They're the ones who receive this message from the spiritual world and relay it to the king. All right, this is what they said. This is what the spirit said, or this is what God said, or this is what the Lord said, or this is what the ancestor said. This is what the angel said. Regardless of who communicating from the spiritual side, the oracle is the one who is responsible for hearing, seeing, and delivering the message to the king. So let me see. Let me get that in the Bible. Lying spirits. Where God sends lying spirits. So when we go to, let me just, what they say, let me add this precept real quick. Let me go to 1 King 22:22. It states, and the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. So the Lord is agreeing to have someone go out and spread lying spirits. And back to the Oahspe where the king said, why do the oracle tell lies? You see that? So I'm just showing you how the lies that the Lord sent out through time, some could have took that as literal, not understanding that this shit was a plan of deception. So just using that as an example to say that God's lie, angels lie too. Just because it says thus saith the Lord and God said don't mean that it's right and exact. So now, again, the king said, why do oracles tell lies? They are the words of angels. Now here's what Capilia said. Here's what the prophet said. If a man will not think for himself, examine for himself, the Creator suffers him to be recipient of lies. To be the recipient of lies. So Capilia said, if you ain't thinking for yourself and examining for yourself. See, the Oahspe makes you think and examine. It don't have you just believe in shit. It gives you examples. It gives you scenarios. It gives you the thoughts of how angels think, how they deceive mortals, for good or bad. See, we can examine those things. And then by examining, we get to rationalize and think how we want to decide, like, oh, damn, well, in the Bible, what the Oahspe is describing it as false gods in the Bible, they got us believing is the Almighty Most High. So we're thinking now, we're examining because we have a better option. You know what I mean? We got variables to play with. So now, like Capilia said, if a man will not think for himself, examine for himself, the Creator suffers him to be the recipient of lies. He is a wise man who hath attained to disbelieve in angels and men. For then he will turn to the Creator, who is all truth. See that? See that? It said, it is wise for man to attain to disbelieve in angels and men. Angels, God, Lord God are titles bestowed on angels. So it is wise for men to disbelieve in angels, which is God, Lords and Lord Gods, archangels, etheric angels, and men. An angel is a man, and a man is an angel. A woman is an angel, and an angel is a woman, vice versa. See that? Better for you to say, nah, I ain't gonna believe in none of that shit. I'm gonna just believe in the Creator. You better off safe instead of going through all these different gods, the Elohims, El Shaddai, El this, El that. No, leave them niggas over there and just deal with the Creator. That's what the book's saying. He is a wise man who hath attained to disbelieve in angels, which is Elohims, Adonais, and men. For then he will turn to the Creator, who is all truth. This is the beginning of wisdom. In your Bible it says, fear is the beginning of wisdom. But in another verse it says, perfect love cast out fear in the Bible. So how can fear be the beginning of wisdom in the Bible, but then says, perfect love cast out fear? So you're casting out the beginning of wisdom if you have perfect love. You see the contradictions in the Bible, but here in the Oahspe it says, if you turn away from the disbelief of angels and men and turn to the Creator, this is the beginning of wisdom, turning to the Creator. So once you get away from your false biblical God, once you get away from worshiping the Anunnakis and Enki and Enlil and them, once you get away from Osiris and Amun-Ra and Ptah and all them, once you get away from Jesus and Yeshua and them, and return your ass back to the Creator, then you're at the beginning of wisdom. At the beginning of wisdom. So if you're at the beginning of something, that means you got to start from one and learn the primary education from 1, 2, and then what is the principal laws of 1? What is the first law? We just read it in the book of Judgment. The first law is to make clean thy own corporeal body, because thou hast stuffed thyself with corporeal food. My holy angels cannot approach you. Neither can your understanding approach my heavenly kingdom. See that? So the first law, anatomy-wise, is purity. And you eat the fruits and vegetables, herbs and grains for your diet to keep the body fueled pure. Flesh foods, eating animals, that decreases your spiritual body because it slows down your circulation, your blood circulation in the blood. It slows it down and it makes the oxygen cell oxide, and then it starts feeding your organs dehydrated oxygen cells, which is acidic oxygen cells, and your organs start failing and you start getting sick and you get diseases. That's what happens when you eat flesh and blood. It slows down the blood circulation, which is slowing down the vibrational frequency of your being, and you're slowly dying. You're bringing on your death faster. But if you eat more pure and holier, then your physical body will sustain itself longer. It's just like a vehicle. If you take care of your car, if you do your oil changes, your transmission changes, you know what I mean, change out whatever needs to be changed in the engine, spark plugs, you know what I mean, alternator, that car will run. You got people driving cars right now that they had since the 80s and it's still running like they just brought it. But you have people who got that the car from that era is done for. Ain't no coming back. Just showing you to say that you take care of your body, and that's how you basically stay in good realm, good service with yourself and the Creator. Drinking this detox right now, that's right. God damn it. Since you want to talk like that, let me go goddamn take me a drink too then. Hold up. It survives. We're going to do the detox challenge, my nigga. We doing a detox challenge? That's what we doing? Yeah. Got the big boy. Got that big boy detox right here. You know what I mean? Since we're talking about vibrational frequencies, that's going to help increase your vibrational frequency. How does that work? It's going to help by cleaning the blood. The blood is the foundation. The blood is the foundation of your health. Because if any of your organs has any health issues, if you have inflammation of the kidney, if you have inflammation of the liver, if you have any inflammatory condition, it starts in the blood first. Because the blood has to become inflamed with acid in order for your organs to be inflamed with acid. Because your blood is carrying that oxygen cell to supply oxygen to that organ for it to function properly. Once that oxygen cell becomes dehydrated or acidic based, then it starts burning the organ. That's like this. I'm like, boom. See that fire? That's the oxygen cell inflamed going to the organ. This is the organ right here. The blood is the organ. You see that burning? That's what's happening to your organ when you have too much acid in the blood. The blood is carrying that oxygen cell like fire to the organ. And once that fire hits that organ, it starts burning it, and that's what you call inflammation. Inflammation is basically fire burning on your goddamn organ. And if you want to prevent that, you want to detox. Because inflammation could affect any organ, just like fire could affect. I could burn this blunt, or I could start burning this right here. Regardless of what the fire comes in contact with, it's going to consume it and burn it. Regardless of what organ inflammation comes in with, it's going to consume it and burn it. Whether it be the skin, whether it be the bones, whether it be the liver, whether it be the kidney, whether it be the pancreas. Anywhere inflammation comes, it's going to burn the organ that it comes in contact with. And it's going to dehydrate it, and that dehydration is going to cause it to have a dysfunction. You know what I mean? Kidney failure. You know what I mean? Liver failure, inflammation. All that is caused by acid in the blood. Uric acid, gout, and you have gout in your foot and all that is from uric acid. Acid in the blood. You get acid in the blood from what you eat and what you drink. Whatever you put in your body is going to dictate and determine your health. Ice cold, my nigga. Ice cold Khufu. Nigga, that's a cold-blooded ass name right there. Ice cold Khufu. That sounds like some 1980s hip-hop. You know what I mean? Hip-hop. When the 5%ers was doing the hip-hop. What's that 5% rap nigga? I forget his name. Damn. King Son. That's like that era sound of shit. Detox in the C7. Yeah, that C7 cold-blooded. You know what I mean? The C7 is a cold-blooded motherfucking tea. See, because carbon, calcium, like your bones is calcium. So carbon is not really a focus there. You know what I mean? Your blood is iron. So calcium is carbon is not really a focus there. But what plays a major part in carbon in your body is your skin, your eyes, your hair, your endocrine system, and your central nervous system, bluntly to the point. That's what the carbon C7 is for. The endocrine system and the central nervous system. Because those two systems are carbon-based systems where carbon plays an important role for that system to operate properly. The reason a lot of women have chemical imbalance in their endocrine system, that pH balance be off, is it because of carbon. See, the hormone is a fluid. When you look at the minerals that make up the fluid of those hormones, you're going to find out it's oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. Now, the oxygen and hydrogen is okay because we get that from the drinks and all that, no problem. But the carbon cell is the problem. That carbon cell plays an important role in hormones in the endocrine system in order for the endocrine system to function properly. If the carbon cell gets dehydrated, bam, the pH is off. You have hormonal imbalance. It'll be off because the carbon cell now is becoming dehydrated. So the endocrine system is a very important system because the endocrine system deals with your pineal gland, you know what I mean, your pituitary gland, and those glands deal with a lot of carbon. But if carbon becomes dehydrated in those glands, then those glands can't operate properly. You'll have a problem with sleep, you know what I mean? You have a problem with body regulation, you know what I mean? You may not be having no dreams. Dreams have something to do with your endocrine system because your pineal gland is connected to your endocrine system. The endocrine system got to do with the releasing of melatonin and serotonin and things of that nature. All that is carbon. So if the carbon cells are dehydrated in the endocrine system, you're gonna have disorders or diseases within that system. The same way you have diseases in the skeleton system like osteoarthritis and inflammation of the bones and stuff like that, you can have the same conditions in the endocrine system. Dehydration of the carbon cell. So the carbon C7 is designed to hydrate the carbon cell. It's going to increase the carbon in the endocrine system, and it's going to have the ability to decalcify the pineal gland, because the pineal gland is carbon. The reason why the pineal gland gets calcified is due to dehydration. It's not getting no oxygen. It's not getting no carbon. The carbon cell has to be fed. You got to eat carbon in order to maintain carbon. You got to eat iron in order to maintain iron. You got to drink oxygen, water, in order to maintain oxygen. So we're not getting no carbon in the body. That's how our pineal gland gets calcified, dehydrated. When something dehydrates, it turns rocks, it turns brittle, it turns hard. But then what you got to do, you got to put water on it, you got to lubricate it, and then it starts to function properly. So just using that in layman terms, that's what the carbon C7 for. Same thing with the central nervous system. Central nervous system is the brain and the spine. Carbon plays a role in that too. And the central nervous system is the seat of the spirit. The central nervous system and the endocrine system deals with spirituality, because the pineal gland is where your dreams stem from, what they call the third eye. That's going into the spiritual world. That's when you tap in. When you tap in is when you dream, or when you sleep. That's when you tapping in. That's where the pineal gland and the third eye comes in at. That's the endocrine system. Carbon has to do with your vision of dreams. And the brain, the central nervous system, and the spine, the brain, the central nervous system is the seat of the spirit. The electrical spark starts in the brain. And carbon is present there. So that's what the carbon C7 is for. It's to hydrate the spirit through the body, to hydrate the body, and then as you're hydrating the spirit, you're tapping in. The carbon C7 is for you to tap in. That's a spiritual drink. What's an ascended master? Ascended master would be somebody like Yeshua, Zarathustra, Capelia, the prophets in the Bible. In the Oahspe that they talk about, those would be ascended masters. Ascended masters are predestined, and predetermined beforehand by what in the Oahspe called the masters of generations. I read that a couple other nights when I was breaking down the primary education of the first and second resurrection, where they talk about the masters of Lewis, or the masters of generations. These are a group of angels, and their whole duty is to control the offsprings of marriages and bring about pure marriages, to bring about pure offspring, and one capable of hearing the voice of the spirit And that will be the ascended master, the one capable of hearing the voice of angels, because it will be the angels that will be instructing him and teaching him about the unseen and the mastery of the unseen over the seen. So that's why a lot of prophets, the ascended masters, they will do what we consider miracles: levitate, maybe appear and disappear, healing the sick, things of that nature. Decalcifying the pineal gland. Yes, iodine. Yes, iodine definitely helps. Iodine is part of the endocrine system as well. It's a lot of iodine and CMOS. That's good for you. But like I say, all minerals expressed in two forms: the oxide and the alkaline. You want to get all your minerals from the alkaline, because you can get all the minerals from the oxide state, and you could be harming your body instead. So you could be taking iron on the oxide state and harming your body, like taking the iron pills and stuff like that. It didn't come from the plant. It came from the chemical. It came from the rock, and they put chemicals in it and compressed that rock into a pill. So just imagine you going outside, taking a rock off the ground and compressing it into a pill and digesting that. There is no nutritional value in that, because the rock hasn't been converted through the soil, and then from the soil through the plant to get your minerals that way, through a living organism. But the rock is non-living, it's non-electrical. So by eating the mineral in that form, it's going to create debris and constipation in the gut. It's going to create debris and toxics in the blood. So you don't want to take iron pills, you don't want to take calcium pills, you don't want to take no pills that are not plant-based. If you're going to take a calcium pill, you want to take it that comes from a plant. What plant? High in calcium? Sea moss. So that's why a lot of times you're not going to get your, like iron, you're not going to get plant-based iron capsules in the store. They're going to take the iron rock and buy you 100 iron pills for $29.95. Next you know, you constipated as hell, because these iron pills came straight from the rock and not through the plant. That's the organic and the inorganic, the living and non-living. Like for example, right here, let me see if I can pull it up. Like on the dietary chart. No, I got it. No, I ain't got it. I ain't got it loaded up. I'll load it up next time. But now in the dietary chart, what I was trying to show was that you have plants and then you have minerals. Now we're just going to show how the minerals from the soil. I was going to show how the minerals from the soil, the rock, is the minerals that you don't take, while the plant. So for example, if you got iron rocks, and then you got soil, and you got plants growing over those iron rocks, you want to get your iron from the plants. But they'll dig and take the rock, break down the rock, add some chemicals, and make it a pill and give you that from the mineral itself, instead of coming from the plant, whether it be the root of the plant, the stalk of the plant, or the leaf of the plant. Like the moringa leaf is high in iron, amaranth leaf is high in iron, but yellow dock root is high in iron, sea moss high in iron. You know, those are three different fields of plant and sea life, seaweed, that is iron-based, that you could take. The immune system booster that I make, that shit is nothing but iron. If you want nothing but iron, get the immune system booster, because that ain't nothing but sarsaparilla, that ain't nothing but iron, yellow dock ain't nothing but iron, burdock, and I got moringa and sea moss in that, in the immune system booster. That ain't nothing but iron. Haram, I see you. It's good, fam. Yeah, that's the importance of the diet. You know what I mean? But another thing I want to touch on, switching the topic, is like the vision of Constantine, right? The vision of Constantine. Bang. You know, historically, this event was documented in history. The vision of Constantine. The vision of Constantine is when Constantine went to war 323 AD at Milvian Bridge, and he went to battle with Maximus and his army. And there appeared in the sky the symbol of a cross. But not the cross as we know it today, but the cross as you see right there, the X and the P. They call it the Chi and the Rho. That's the earliest depiction of the term Christ. See, Christ wasn't a man originally. Christ was modified into a man during the councils of Nicaea when they was determining the deification of the deity of Jesus, whether they should deify him as supernatural, the Son of God, or whether they should say he was naturally born. They was debating that at the councils. But prior to that, when Constantine, when Louis came to Constantine, this was the cross that he inspired Constantine to design and put the head at the head of battle. So now when the Oahspe, it has this battle in it, the battle of Milvian Bridge with Constantine. And they have different pictures and different depictions that artists made in the earlier years, whether it be the 1800s, the 17, 15, 1600s, or whatever, when they gave depictions of Constantine and the vision of Constantine. So right there, that's another depiction of that's supposed to be the Battle of Milvian Bridge, and they're just showing you the depiction of the cross in the sky. So I'm just showing you how during this battle, it was documented that this cross was in the sky. And this cross that appeared during the time in battle was Louis. But of course, then they didn't know that. That wasn't revealed. Even when Louis came to Constantine, he didn't reveal his name, Louis. Louis just came to him and inspired him what to write and say. So, like here in the book of God, in God's book of Escrow, chapter 49. No, chapter 39. It states, where we at? No, that's hold on, let me go back. That's the wrong chapter. Let me find this one. Let me go to Louis chapter where he raises up, where he talks about the battle at Milvian Bridge. Right here. Where is that? Alright, here we go. This is it. My B. This is the God's Book of Escrow, chapter 38. Chapter 38, verse. Where we gonna start from? Alright, verse 26. Louis inspired Constantine, the mortal emperor, to call together a council of wise men. Wait, hold up. Nah, that was before. Alright, no, let me go back. Let me go back. Alright, let me go back to verse 12. Skip that. Verse 12. What they say in Hebrew, Salakia. Alright, so verse 12. So we in God's Book of Escrow, chapter 39, verse 12. That's where we at with it. Behold, I will provide myself before Constantine, and he shall covenant unto me. Through him will I drive Baal out of Rome. And as I make myself Christ of heaven, see that? Lua Monk said he's going to make himself Christ of heaven. What is the symbol in the sky right there? The symbol of the Kai in a row? The symbol of the Christ. That's Lua Monk in the heavens. So check it. Through him will I drive Baal out of Rome. And as I make myself Christ of heaven, so will I make Constantine emperor of the whole earth. See that? Lua Monk is behind the inspiration of Constantine's victory and his whole conquest and establishment of Christianity. The inspiration came from the angels, Lua Monk's host. So again, let's read. Behold, I will provide myself before Constantine, and he shall covenant unto Baal. He shall covenant unto me. Through him will I drive Baal out of Rome. And as I make myself Christ of heaven, so will I make Constantine emperor of the whole earth. Gabriel then descended to the earth to Constantine, who was the Suez, one capable of hearing and seeing angels. And he could both see angels and hear them talk. So he is saying that Constantine had the gift of hearing and seeing angels. And Jibril, the same Jibril that started Islam, the same Jibril that came to Muhammad, this is the same Jibril that they're talking about right here in verse 13, where it states, Jibril then descended to the earth to Constantine, who was a Suez, and who could both see angels and hear them talk. And Gabriel induced Constantine to raise up an army, 40,000 soldiers, and set out for conquest. So these 40,000 angels, these 40,000 strong that Constantine is gathering up, inspired by Gabriel through the command of Lua Monk, is the precursor of the Battle of Malivian Bridge. So as the verse states again, it stated that Gabriel induced Constantine to raise up an army of 40,000 soldiers and set out for conquest. See that? Just like the picture is showing right here. They setting out for conquest. Oahspe gives you the number, 40,000. And then verse 14 states, and when they came to the plains of Agatha, and even where the Christian had been massacred many years before, here's the key part right here. Behold, Lua Monk and his angel host appeared in the heavens above Constantine's army, so that all the soldiers thereof beheld the heavenly visitors. Stop. See that? Lua Monk appeared before these niggas at battle. And this is the records throughout history that they left behind, showing the symbol of the Kai in the road across the Christ. So he more likely appeared in the crowds, but he showed the symbol of the Kai in the road. Almost like some blue beam shit back then. So right there, that's just showing you the images of the symbol of the cross in the sky. But what the book say? What the verse say that Lua Monk did? It said, Lua Monk and his angel hosts appeared in the heavens above Constantine's army, so that all the soldiers thereof beheld the heavenly visitors. See that? Lua Monk appeared at the site of battle 323 AD at Malivian Bridge. Now verse 15 states, and Lua Monk showed unto Constantine in the air of heaven a true cross, which was written in letters of blood al Christ. See that? Luamung showed in heaven a true cross. So historically, this event that took place in history, called the Vision of Constantine, was documented throughout all these years, this event. But here the Oahspe comes revealing who the deity was behind this event, who was behind the inspiration of Constantine and his army through Jibril. That's why the Oahspe is cold-blooded, revealing these things. So Luamung, he didn't reveal his name worshipful Luamung. That's why we don't know Luamung's name in history. But the name Christ and the symbol of him was the cross, the Chi in the row. And that is what we got in history. That is what Constantine seen in the air of heaven during battle. And it is that which Constantine put the stamp on and made the symbol of Christianity. That's how Luamung made his presence on earth, through the conquest of Constantine and the cross. So again, that verse states, and when they had come to the plains of Agatha, even where the Christians had been massacred many years before, behold, Luamung and his angel hosts appeared in the heavens, above Constantine's army, so that all the soldiers thereof beheld the heavenly visitors. And Luamung showed unto Constantine in the air of heaven a true cross, on which was written in letters of blood, Al Christ. Verse 16. Nevertheless, there was no man present who could read the inscription, and many were the conjectures thereof. So when this event took place, it's saying that they seeing this shit, but no man could read the inscription. But check this. Luamung descended to Constantine and said unto him. So now Luamung visits Constantine. So it says in the evening, so after the battle. It said in the evening, Luamung descended to Constantine and said unto him, this is the interpretation of the sign and the cross I showed thee. And here's the meaning. Verse 17. In this thou shalt conquer. And when thou arises in the morning, thou shalt cause to be made a cross of most excellent workmanship, and thou shalt have it inscribed, the Christ, our Lord, Son of the Holy Spirit. Son of the Holy Ghost. See that? And this cross shalt thou cause to be carried at the head of thy army. See that? And thy edict shall be called bulls, and they shall be written with lamb's blood in remembrance of the sacrifice of the Jews in Egypt, through which sacrifice the Father in heaven delivered them, for I am the Lord of heaven and earth. See the deception? Now he claiming to be the God of Israel, telling Constantine this shit. So Constantine is listening to what the angel is telling him what to do. What is the interpretation of the cross? Make the symbol of the cross at the head of thy army when you go to conquest. This is what Luamung is telling Constantine. Verse 18. And this cross shall thou cause to be carried at the head of thy army, and the edict shall be called bulls, and they shall be written with lamb's blood, in remembrance of sacrifice of the Jews in Egypt. Through the sacrifice the Father in heaven delivered them, for I am the Lord of heaven and earth. Verse 19. Accordingly a cross was made, and highly decorated, and inscribed as commanded. And Constantine and his soldiers went forth with renewed courage, and so great was their zeal that everything fell before them. See that? And now that Luamung's angel had an archer on earth, they were in all respects the equal of angels of pagan gods, so that while Constantine was victorious on earth, Gabriel otherwise was victorious in heaven. See that? Gabriel is the warrior angel with his warrior host of angels that are inspiring Constantine's army to victory. See that? It's the inspiration of the angels that inspire mortals to do what they do, to have great courage, to have great inspiration and vigor. Now, an example of to show how, as a precept right quick, in the book of Thor, now the verse stated that so the verse stated that now Lu amongst angels had an archer on the earth, and they were in all respect equal to the angels of the pagan gods, so that while Constantine was victorious on earth, Jabril was otherwise victorious in heaven. So this is in conquest and battle. The inspiration of Jabril angels gave Constantine the victory. So now, as a precept to this, in the book of Thor, son of Jehovah, chapter 1, chapter 1, verse 14, it states, "The wars in heaven have inspired mortals to wars on earth, so that all around the world everlasting battles was going on." So again, the wars in heaven have inspired mortals to wars on earth. So when we read these wars of Constantine that we see with the battle at Malivian Bridge, when Constantine showed the symbol of the cross, that inspiration came from the angels. But in this particular situation, we have who the head chief is, Luamung, who his warrior angel is, Jabril, and a host of warrior angels under them, doing their abad, their abid, their will. So now, we showing you right here, historically, that this event was documented, and now the Oahspe is revealing the angels by name who was behind the event and the whole victory for Constantine in the first place. So it states, verse 26 states, Luamung inspired Constantine, the mortal emperor, to call together a council of wise men from all the kingdoms of Arabia, Hellas, Persia, and Europe, to select from all religions, doctrines in the world, that which was the wisest and best, that it might be established by kings and emperors and governed by the sword and spear, so that should never more be one religion, so there should never more be but one religion. So after Luamung inspired Constantine of victory, Luamung started the inspiration of the council meetings. That's what that verse was about. But prior to that, when the battle came, because they went to battle at Malivian Bridge, and here is a picture of Malivian Bridge right here. Malivian Bridge, that's it right there. That's a depiction of the war at Malivian Bridge 323 AD, when Constantine and Maximus went to battle. Now the false god that was over Constantine was Luamung, through Jabril and his warrior angels. And the false god that was with Maximus on the opposite side was Baal. Baal was the inspiring god over Maximus. That's why when Luamung said in back to verse 11, when it said, "Descend thou again to the earth to Constantine, and inspire thou him to raise up a mortal army of 40,000 and move upon Rome." See that? Baal was the god that was over Rome at the time. Because like I said, these false gods move around. They move their heavenly kingdoms from place to place. So Baal's heavenly kingdom was over Canaan and the Levant at one time. But thousands of years later, now he's over Rome. So like in this verse right here, God's Book of Esther, chapter 37, 37 verse 14, it states, "For 300 years more Luamung with upward of 600 million angel warriors pursued war in heaven on earth. And he had captured mostly all the earthly strongholds of the false gods. Baal, however, still maintained himself in Rome and as God of the Roman Empire, but under many names. See that? So Baal, the same Canaanite Baal, the same El Baal, El Elohim Baal, that you know of as in Canaan, 323 AD, he has moved his headquarters over Rome and is God of the Romans, inspiring the Romans under the name Zeus and other names. So Luamung, at this battle at 323 Millennium Bridge, is the battle that dictated who will have dominion, Baal or Luamung or Baal, or Constantine or Maximus or Constantine. Constantine is Luamung, Maximus is Baal, the same Canaanite Baal. And the victory of this battle went to Luamung. He won the battle. And coming back to verse 38 in God's book of Esther, chapter 21, where it states, and it came to pass in not many years that Luamung through Gabriel captured Baal. See that? He captured Baal. And all the false gods in all the regions far and near. And Gabriel took along with the captured gods 7,600,000 warring angels, and carried them all together to Meksavistu in Haiti, and cast them into hell, where they were already more than 10 millions who were in chaos and madness. And Jibril had the place walled around with fire and noxious gases so that none could escape. Such was the end of the earthly domain of Baal, who had ruled over mortals for evil for upward of 3,000 years. And in fact, it was the final termination of earthly gods that ruled over mortals through oracles and pagan practice. The earth was now cleared of evil gods, whose chief labor had been for thousands of years to capture the spirits of the recent dead and make slaves of them for the glory of Haiti. And thus had Luamung done a good service, for the earth and lower heavens had now nothing to suffer from any gods except the Trinity. See that? See that? So actually, Luamung did a favor in a sense of getting rid of Baal, because Baal was the same Canaanite deity. That's the same God that was inspiring of the Israelites to kill off man, woman, and children. When you look at the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 15:3, when the Lord told the Israelites to kill off, to utterly destroy Amalek, to kill off man, woman, and children, that came from Baal, these false gods. And Luamung, coming thousands of years later, 323 AD, at the Battle at Millennium Bridge, which you've seen on the screen, he destroyed and captured Luamung, and that ended the reign of the evil gods. Like the book said, these niggas was evil. Like Moloch, offering children as sacrifice to their gods. When the false angel tried to inspire Abraham to sacrifice his son, to kill his son, Isaac, and use him as a burnt offering for the gods. These were the evil gods of antiquity. And as the book states, such was the end of the earthly domain of Baal, who had ruled over mortals for evil for upward of 3,000 years. And in fact, it was the final termination of the earthly gods that ruled over mortals through oracles and pagan practice. And the earth was now clear of evil gods, whose chief labor had been for 1,000 years to capture the spirits of the recently dead and make slaves of them for the glory of the Haitian heavens. See that? That's the same God that y'all niggas is worshiping in the Bible that we're trying to get y'all free from. These evil gods. These gods that are enticing evil. But this is the battle at Millennium Bridge, 323 AD, that Luamung won through Constantine, casting Baal in hell through Jibril. No more evil gods and evil practice from this time forth, in that sense. And this is how Millennium Bridge looks today, actually, right here. Where that? Bum. That's Millennium Bridge right now, today. That's the bridge Constantine and Maximus had that battle. That's the area and location where Luamung showed the symbol of the cross. That symbol right there, when Luamung inspired Constantine to battle 40,000 through Jabril as warrior angels, and Luamung showed in heaven the cross. The heavenly visit appeared, then the cross appeared. So all this is going on in the presence of the battle. And this is the bridge, Millennium Bridge, 323 AD, where that battle took place. See that? It survives, you dig? You know what I mean? This shit get deep, yo. Urban Myth, I see you, what's good? Big Alchemy, I see you. Peace to the fam. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a vibe, yo. Got a twist up one on that one right there. That was a good one right there. You know what I mean? Constantine. See, that's what I'm saying. Luamung, he is the face of Christianity. He is the Godfather. You know what I mean? When you look at the Godfather, that's Luamung. He's like the Godfather. And, you know, the number one hitman of the Godfather, that's Jabril. You know what I mean? He's the one to go out there and get shit done. He's the one that went out there with a host of warrior angels to inspire Constantine to be victorious in that battle over Maximus. And that's the physical plane. On the spiritual plane, Gabriel conquered Baal and his hosts, captured them, cast them in hell, walled them around with noxious gases, and had them in chaos. See that? And the earth was cleared away of evil gods who inspired mortals with evil. And when you look at the Old Testament God, that's what you got, evil. 1 Samuel 15:3, killing off men, women, and children. You know what I mean? Israel is going into the land to do battle. God is inspiring bloodshed. It's like, let's be realistic here. So it's a vibes. We vibing out, you know what I mean? 30 in the chat. Let's take a quick break. And I'm going to go into Muhammad next. The same way I broke down Luamung, inspiring Constantine, I'm going to do the same thing with Luamung. I mean with Muhammad. With Muhammad and Islam. The same thing happened with Islam. So I'm showing you how these false gods inspired mortals to establish their doctrine, and it is their doctrine that we believe in today. Constantine has put the stamp on Christianity. What is Christianity? Where do you find Christianity at? In the Bible. Old and New Testament. You have Israelites who connect the Old Testament to the New Testament to show that the Old Testament was writing about the Messiah coming about. You know what I mean? So it shows you that the Old and the New Testament is all one book, the Bible. Constantine put the stamp on it. Bam. Well, what you have today is the amalgamated text, because the Bible means scrolls, many books. Because, like the verse stated right here about the books, it stated that Luamung inspired Constantine, the mortal emperor. This is after he won the battle. After he won the battle at Maximus at Millennium Bridge. So after that's done, everything's, I'm the man now. I put the stamp down. I won the battle. I won the war. We coming back for victory. So after victory, this is what Luamung is inspiring Constantine to do. So Luamung inspired Constantine, the mortal emperor, to call together a council of wise men from all the kingdoms of Arabia or Africa, Hellas, Persia, and Europe, to select from all the religious doctrines in the world. See that? This is before the destruction of the Alexandria Library. You know, the Alexandria Library, Egypt, was like one of the biggest libraries that held a lot of records from all the cultures and histories of that time. So it said to select from all the religion doctrines in the world that which was the wisest and best, that it might be established by kings, emperors, and governors by the sword and spear, so that there should never more be but one religion. And that's what Constantine put down. That one religion that he established, that Catholic religion, Catholic means one universal, was Christianity. That's what he put the foot down. Jesus was the face, the physical image, the cross. The earliest form of the cross was the Chi and the Rho, the X and the P. They modified that to a cross with Jesus hanging on it. See, everything is getting modified through the ages. Prior to Jesus hanging on the cross, the first European savior was Serapis through the Ptolemies, 2nd century BC. But then but close to 1,000 years later, now you have Constantine having the same concept of a savior hanging on a cross, but close to 1,000 years earlier, it was Serapis. So it's modified and changed through the ages. But it's the same concept of a savior, an image of a God coming to be the Most High, claiming to be the Most High. So Constantine is now about to put together the Council of Nicaea, which they're going to select from all the religions of the world. Just like it's stated, they're selected from all the religions of the world to put together this book and put the stamp on it and call it Christianity. So so we got the book. So the book starts off with the 7-day creation story. They just said they gathered all the religions of the world to compile this book. So the 7-day creation story, where does that come from? What religion of all the worlds does that come from? It comes from the Amuna Elish, the Babylonian text. Bam. Now the next thing we got after the 7-day creation is what? The story of the flood. Where did the flood come from? The Epic of Gilgamesh, another Babylonian tale. Bam. And then what do we have after that? After the flood, we have the story of Abraham. Where's Abraham documented? We'll give that to the Hebrew scrolls. Bam. After the story of Abraham, you got what? The story of Moses. Moses grew up where? In Egypt. So we got to look at Egypt, the Egyptian records for Moses. So we got Babylonian, we got Babylonian records, and we got Egyptian records. Because keep in mind, it says of all the religions, they're going to compile and make this book. So we got Babylonian influence, we got Egyptian influence. What else we got? Who came after Moses? Joshua and the conquest of Israel. So we got Hebrew documents now. So after Moses, you got the writings of the Hebrews, the writings of the prophets. And then after that, the Tanakh. The Tanakh is the modified version of the Babylonian creation story, the flood story, and the Hebrew writings. You know what I mean? After the Tanakh, Jesus comes, you got the New Testament. Who put together the New Testament? Those were the New Testament, the Romans, the Greeks, another form of culture and religion in comparison to the Egyptians and the Babylonians, in comparison to the Romans, the Greeks, the Latins, the English. So, just showing you that the Oahspe came from many religions. I mean, not the Oahspe. The Bible is compiled of many religions. And that was done through Constantine. They selected the books. Keep in mind, some books were selected and some wasn't. The Apocrypha was in the original King James Version, but now it's not. You got the Book of Enoch. You got the lost books of the Bible. You got the forgotten books of Eden, the Gospel of Barnabas. You got the Apocalypse of Abraham. All these Gospels that was not included had to do with these men selecting which they wanted to add it or not. So that's what transpired with Christianity and the stamp of Christianity being inspired by these angels. So let's vibe. Let's go on a vibe right quick. Let's step into the cosmos because it's always a vibe. You hear? It's always a vibe. Hits the vibes. It's a vibes. Yes, family. Big up yourself. It's a vibes. Lodge up yourself. Yeah, I'm still here. I ain't going nowhere. Chilling with the family. You know what I mean? You see us. We in the cosmos. We traveling. We up out of here. But we ain't going nowhere. When I say we up out of here, meaning we traveling through the cosmos. Moving through the ships of fire. The Etherian ships of fire. What you know? It's the vibes. Yes, family. We still here. We're gonna keep the music going. We're gonna keep the music going though. Yeah. 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 That's sweet. You hear that? You hear that? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Music. An important factor to life. It's funny because it was during the time of Apollo that music and symmetry and unity was expressed on the earth. It was a time when man was unified musically, harmoniously with sound and instrument. Like, all right, we can vibe to this beat, nod our head to it, got motion, we riding the vortex. It was a time where man didn't have that in him. Man didn't have most music. That's what the god Apollo. I ain't talking about the Greek god Apollo, because that's what most people think when they hear Apollo is the Greek god Apollo. When I first seen Apollo in the Oahspe, I was like, Apollo? I'm like, Apollo? You ain't talking about Apollo. I went straight to the Greek philosophy. But then when I seen Apollo, son of Jehovah, I said, nah, there's something different here. I ain't fight it. I said, what they talking about? So I read it. I ain't closed the book and dismissed it. I investigated it. And I found out the purpose of Apollo was to bring symmetry, harmony, music, unity. In that form, that was one aspect of Apollo. As states here, in the book of Apollo, son of Jehovah, chapter 1, verse 2, I, Apollo, once a mortal, proclaim first wisdom, peace, and patience unto all men, and comprehensive judgment whereof I speak. Second, to perceive the reason of things, as to what seemeth to have been, and of what cometh after. For the Great Spirit is all harmony and perfection, abounding in time and in worlds to accomplish all possible images, imaginings, whereof by ye magnify in concept, not judging by the little understanding of mortals. So that he that asserts harmony being more to the order of Jehovah than that which is ill-formed or out of tune, hath little reason to prove his asseration before a wise man. As one may assert that ripe fruit is near perfection than that which is green, which assertion is self-evident without proof. So in the understanding of gods, in the management of worlds, are things past and present. Not things past and present in fact, but more like the immature and the mature. Since then man perceives that words at best are but slow and coarse repetitions of the soul's concept of things. So how much further distant lies a God's wisdom beyond the reach of mortals' understanding? Remember, O man, that Remember, O man, that could thou in a moment of time recollect all thou hadst ever learned, thou would be wise indeed. Were thou in tune with thyself, such would be thy wisdom, to advance in such direction whereby man become attuned, first with himself, then with his immediate surroundings, then with the magnitude of worlds, and then with Jehovah, so that he moveth, acteth, and comprehendeth harmoniously, is to become one with the Father, which conditions await all men and is called in high heavens Naravenia, or Etheria. Because to him that hath attained, for him that have attained it all, things past and present, things past and things to come are as an open book. He can look back to his own beginning in the world and even beyond, and whithersoever his direction, and whitherso he directeth his eyes, he can see and hear, even as if the matter now were. See that? Marvel not, O man, that gods reveal the words and signs of things long since perished corporally. The proof he could give, thou could not understand. For the basis of spirituality, entity lies not within the measure of the corporeal senses. See that? See that? It's stated that the basis of spiritual entities lie not with the measure of corporeal senses. You remember when I was saying that the corporeal senses is visible light, 700 to 300 nanometers, that's visible light, and the spiritual frequencies is outside of visible light? So that's what it's saying here. For the basis of spiritual entity lies not within the measure of the corporeal senses. It's not within the vortexian measure of 700 to nanometers to 700 to 300 nanometers. It resides outside of that, beyond that measure. But look, nevertheless, Jehovah hath given thee comparison, as a portrait of a man shows his looks, even after his corporeal body hath perished, and yet the picture is but a representative to the spirit. A corporeal body is but a representative, being a manifested product of spirit. See that? The spiritual body, the physical body, is a manifested product of spirit. What is spirit? Unseen. What is unseen? Vapor, gases. What are those made up of? Minerals. So now, it says to the spirit, a corporeal body is a representative, being a manifested production of spirit. As out of corporeal things a new thing is produced and born into the world, so out of Jehovah is born the spirit of man. Neither leadeth the corporeal the spirit, nor the spirit the corporeal, but Jehovah does all. See See that? Think not then that when the corporeal body is dead and molded back to the original element, that in like manner the spirit of man will resolve itself back to Jehovah. For spirit is not bound by similar rules. So see right there, it's telling you that the spirit, right there is telling you that the spirit is not bound by the same rules as the physical body. So as the physical body dies and dissolves back into the earth, the spiritual body does not resort to those same rules. That's why in the Bible, or that's why people who believe the Bible say that when you die, you're going to be resting in the grave, or you're going to be resting until Jabril comes and blow the trumpet. That's a lie. Your physical body is going to deteriorate, but your spiritual body moves on and moves out after your physical body dies. So again, it states, think not then that when the corporeal body is dead and molded back to original elements, that in like manner the spirit of man will resolve itself back to Jehovah. For spirit is not bound by similar rules. As the corporeal body grows by aggregating to itself, so not so grows the spirit of man, but by the opposite, which is giving away. Remember, O man, the more thou put forth thy soul to give light and wisdom to others, the more thou receiveth. See that? Wherein thou shalt comprehend in the reason of things everlasting life. Let me read that again. Wherein thou shalt comprehend in the reason of things everlasting life to the spirit of man. So also to him that desires to comprehend Jehovah. Let him declare him the all-highest constantly. See that? Constantly. To him that desires to comprehend the Etherian worlds, the home of spirits long risen in Naravina, let him describe them. Fear not, O man, that thou shalt err or error. All the imagery thou can devise surpassed millions of times in the magnitude of the Father's kingdom. Till thou canst shoot an arrow without striking the air, fear not for thy weak thoughts shooting amiss in Jehovah's kingdom. See that? See the wisdom of the Oahspe? The wisdom of demonstrating to you that the physical body is an outward manifestation of spirit. As above, so below, as above. The physical and the spiritual are the same, moving at different vibrational frequencies. You know what I mean? Been saying that. Been saying that. Hits are vibes. You dig? That's how we moving, y'all. Let's vibe to some music. I'm about to twist up a little spliff. Let's vibe to some music, yo. Yeah. Yeah. Hits are vibes. What y'all talking about in the chat? We building tonight. Selah Shalom TV. We vibing out. Cause it's a vibes, you dig? Chris, I see you. Good night till next time, fam. Next time, fam. Shiny, what you got going on? I hear you. It's a vibes. We vibing. Bringing you some good information. I'm gonna bring you the Muhammad joint next time. I'm gonna do that on the next one. When I'm gonna go through Muhammad's inspiration. Show you that Jabril. The same Jabril that inspired Constantine to victory is the same Jabril that came to Muhammad and inspired Muhammad to victory. Jabril is a cold-blooded motherfucker. For those who read the Oahspe know exactly what I'm talking about. Jabril wasn't playing no. Jabril was the hitman for Luamon. You know what I mean? Luamon was like the godfather, nigga. You know, he posted up. He did his dirt. He made his mark. And then Jabril, his hitman, hungry, ready to go to the field. You know what I mean? Ready to eat. Then he finally got his chance to eat. And when he got his chance to eat, his victory was Christianity. Christianity was Luamung's victory through Jabril. It's like going to battle and your top warrior comes back with the head of your enemies. That was Jabril. That was Jabril's part playing with Luamung. Jabril was loyal to Luamung. Jabril played his part. He kept his word. If Luamung would have kept his word, Islam would have never been. There would have never been an Islam if Luamung would have kept his word. Yes, family. Luamung did not keep his word with Jabril after Jabril established Christianity for Luamung. And after Jabril find out that Luamung didn't keep his word, Jabril raised him up a person that he could use to start his victorious mission. The same way Luamung used Constantine to be victorious, now Jabril is going to raise up him one named Muhammad to be victorious. And I'm going to read that next time on the next night. I'm going to go to it the same way we went through it with Luamung. Showing you that these religions that we follow today, known as Christianity and known as Islam, was inspired by two angels who proclaimed to be the Most High. Inspired by two angels who had a gripe amongst each other, and their two doctrines turned into a gripe amongst themselves. So this is why Christians and Muslims could never get along, because they have a gripe, and that gripe was within the essence of their doctrine. I know Christians. I remember, man, I was working with the Somalian dude, Joe, and he was a Muslim. And I asked him, I said, yo, you ever read the Bible? The nigga said, no. I was like, damn, okay. The nigga never read the Bible. Like, he like, nah, nigga, we don't fuck with the Bible. He was a Somalian Muslim. I was at work one day, you know, and I just asked him, I said, yo, you read the Bible? He said, no. I was like, damn, okay. I thought y'all niggas, you know, read the Bible so y'all can, you know, because it's like, you know, if you ain't reading the Bible, how the hell you know about Abraham and the prophets and all that shit? So you got some Muslims, they got a whole different mindset about Islam in comparison to, you know what I mean, the Bible. Because if you're not reading the Bible, how are you going to know about the covenant of Ishaq or Isaac, the covenant between Isaac and Ishmael? Thy seed thou be, you know, through Isaac thy seed thou be chosen. If you ain't reading the Bible, you don't know none of that. So you got some hard-body Muslims, it's like they on a whole nother level with that shit. You got some Muslims on a whole nother level with that shit. They're on a whole different type of time. Yup. You said Texas sucks for weed? Really? Yeah, I heard y'all had some Class A1 bullshit. What y'all, that Training Day, I was watching Training Day and shit. Nigga, like, this is Mexican Class A1 bullshit. But now I'm smoking on that gelato, boy. Smoking on that good shit, that gelato, that's what we call that. Oahspe got fascinating stories. It's a vibe. Oahspe got fascinating stories indeed, Joe. Fascinating stories indeed. As we puff on some trees. Another crazy story is the story is not crazy, but a dope story is the story of Zarathustra. If you ain't ever touched on that, that'll be a good story to touch on right there. Now, you know, you have what they call paranormal activities. You know, it was a show called Paranormal Activities that came out some years back. They made like a part 1, part 2. You know, they try to show divine intervention, spiritual intervention. There's records, you know, you got videos where they try to show like chairs moving, cabinets and doors opening. You know, some of that stuff could be staged, some of that stuff could be real, right? Well, I experienced it in real life, so I know that shit real. There ain't no if and buts about it for me. I experienced it in the temple in Brooklyn, Bedford. Shout out to the Cosmon Temple. Big up to them. Good peoples. You know what I mean? Spiritually, the spiritual empowerment in that building. When I was in that spot, I been witness to spiritual intervention. My wife been witness to it too. She could tell a story. Doors opening, books flying off the table. And I'm talking about when they flew off the table, it just wasn't like somebody just threw it. It was like the way they went off the table, it was like they landed. It was like they landed perfect. You know what I mean? It's like, it just wasn't like folded up or nothing. It's like they landed all on the same side, like kind of like this, like boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like almost like a half circle. It was 3 books. When I seen that shit on the ground and the way that shit was looking, I was like, what? And then the door opened. I was up in there shaping up my bed, and I heard woof. And I was like, yo, what the fuck is that? And my wife screamed like a second after that. I was like, what the hell going on? I stuck my head and looked the door wide open. I just locked the door. Right before, I'm talking about not even a minute after I locked that door. I opened up the door. I looked, closed it, locked it, went in the room with wifey, said I'm about to shave, walked in the bathroom. When I walked in the bathroom and turned on the clippers, not even 10 seconds, I heard woof. I was like, what the fuck was that? And right when I heard woof, I heard my wife go, ah. I was like, what the hell? Peeped out, see the door wide open, and the wife was like, yo, this door in here open. So the front door where I was at, what I just locked, opened up. Then the door that was in the room that my wife was in, that shit opened up by itself. So it somewhat happened simultaneously. She didn't even know the front door opened. She was screaming for the door in the room. So when she said, yo, the room in here open, the door in here opened, and then I see the door in the front open, I'm like, oh, hell nah. So I'm shook for a minute because I was like, I wasn't expecting this. So at that point, I went and closed the door. I actually screamed, like, yo, hello, anybody here? Because, you know, it could have been somebody visiting. So, but I knew, you know, the way that door opened up, it's like somebody, you know, like, you know, when you arguing with somebody, like a woman arguing with you in her house, and she may open the door like, get out my house, but she opened that shit real fast. It was like that, the way the door opened. The door opened like, I took it almost like, nigga, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? That's how I felt when I seen the door open. I was like, all right, this motherfucker started saying, open the door, getting the hell out, or I don't know what the fuck going on. But the door and my wife, the closet and the door in the room where we were sleeping, I opened too. So I'm like, all right. So then I closed the door. I went in there, seen the door open. I was like, yo, let me shape up and then we're going to go for a walk. I went back in, tried to figure it out. When I went back, when I was walking back out the room, she was like, I'm coming with you. I ain't staying in here. So she sat in the living room, and it was a table of books and stuff, a couple other stuff there. So let me finish shape up. Went back in the bathroom to shape up. Not even, I swear, not even 15 seconds. I heard my wife scream again. It wasn't no crazy scream, but it was like, ah. I was like, what? And then I seen the 3 books just laying on the ground. She was like, yo, them 3 books flew off the ground. And the way they was laying on the ground, it wasn't like, like I just took this and just did like that. That shit laid on the ground like somebody picked them up, like you picking up 3 books and then just laying them like that. Them shits had that effect on the ground and shit. So once I seen that, I was like, yo, pew, straight out the door. You know what I mean? So it's like I experienced that before. You know what I mean? I still ended up staying in the temple. It just caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it was good or bad. I ain't saying nothing like that. I'm just speaking of the little experience on that part. You know, I called the elder, let him know what was going on. And then he came. And then another cat came, Azar, shout out Anthony. You know what I mean? They were in the Cosmon Temple. And then they gave me a little background on the building and the dude who used to run the building. You know, he was like an Obiaman. He was a Yadman them, you know what I mean? But he was like an Obiaman them. He used to deal with the conjuring and the spiritual vibes heavy. So when I found that out, I was like, okay, it's a strong spirit in here. You know what I mean? So, them shits is real, yo. The spirits of that dead dude linger. You know what I mean? I get the I get the, Sunson. I was in New York. Let me tell you something. We took the not the Greyhound, but the, little China bus. We took that up because my man reached out to do a lecture at the temple. I was like, word, I didn't even know they had a temple in New York, like, that deal with the Oahspe. I was totally unaware of that. So when he reached out, I was like, hell yeah, I'll go. Me and the wifey, psh. My Uriah was supposed to go with 2, but he couldn't make it, but we boarded that bus, pshoo, I'm out. Landed in Brooklyn. I'm like, hey, I'm back in East. I'm back. I mean, not the East New York, but I was in Brooklyn. When I go to New York, that's my stomping ground, so I'm home. Go to the temple. I see the building. I'm looking. I'm like, all right, you got the fur. When you walk in, when you first walk in, it's a door to the left, and you open it up. That's like the church, or like where the seats at in the temple. That's where, if you've seen a video with me giving a lecture in a white garment at the temple, that's where that part is when you walk in the temple. So when you first walk in, you walk in the door right there for the temple. Then there's another door right there. And when you open up that door, it's a chandelier that makes noise when you open up the door. It kind of alerts whoever coming. So when you walk that door, some stairs right there leading up. So we go up the stairs, and that's the first little floor. So that floor, that's where we was at. That's where all the events was taking place. But then it's a higher floor that go up higher up, another level up. But it was kind of dark up there. I couldn't see, like too much. But I see it's a vibes up there. I could feel the energy. It's a vibes up there. Not to go too deep, you know what I'm saying? But we was on the middle plane. So I'm like, all right, cool. And then it's a basement too, you know what I mean? So the chandelier is what started it all. Because, like I said, when you come in the building, you got that door where the church at, and then you come, it's another door. When you touch that, it's a chandelier right there. It automatically rings, it automatically shakes every time you come in. It kind of alerts the people to let you know that you're there. So that was the first sign of the abnormal activity or the spiritual event. So when we first got there that night, we spoke to everybody. We chopped it up. We built it. We talking. We went to go get some food. Came back. Then everybody left. It was just me and my wife. And keep in mind, every time I go to New York, I still keep my Brooklyn mentality from the 90s, because in the 90s it was very violent. There was a lot of shit going on, so I was very on high alert, very on guard, different spirited than I would be now in Atlanta. So I'm on go when I be in New York. So I'm still thinking like that. But although I was relaxed, I ain't really thinking like that, because at that time I was pre-COVID. New York was kind of not as wild as it used to be, but I still keep that mentality when I'm up there. So I'm up there. It was a Friday night. I'm on my phone. Everybody gone. Wifey laying down like shit about to sleep. And then I didn't hear it. I wasn't paying attention, but the wife heard the chandelier ring. She said, bling, bling, bling. You know the chandelier you put outside and it makes the bell sounds? So that shit rang off and she heard it, but I didn't hear it because I was watching my show actually on YouTube. Atlanta's Ugly. It was a Friday night, so I'm watching the show. I'm glued in. So she heard the chandelier. So I just seen her get up and like kind of like started putting on her clothes. I'm like, what's up? She's like, you ain't hear that? I was like, what? The chandelier went off. I was like, nah, I ain't hear that shit. So I ain't pay that shit no mind, ignoring it. Then after that, the shit went off and I heard it this time. I was like, oh, I heard that one. Because I know when you come in and out, that somebody got to be there for that shit to go off. That shit just ain't moving on its own. When that chandelier go off, somebody either coming out the door or coming in the door. Because the way the chandelier shut up, it makes the noise when the door is moving and open or whatever. So I heard it. So when I heard it, I got up and went to the door that leads downstairs to the outdoor. So I'm upstairs, I open the door, I look. Nigga, I don't hear nothing. It's empty, it's dead silent. I said, hello? And my shit echoed back to me. I said, hello? I said, hello? Nobody there. So I closed the door and locked the door again. I go back in the room. I said, ain't nobody here. You know what I mean? Because, I don't know if they come in and out. Now, this is my first time here. And I'm spending the night here. And I don't know these people. I'm just doing this off the strength of the Oahspe and the connection of spirituality. But me being a street dude who came from the streets, who come from the hustle, been in the streets, my street senses started kicking in. It started overriding my spiritual senses. So when I heard that and I checked it, I was like, all right, cool. Now I'm starting to feel a little way because I'm like, nigga, I'm in Brooklyn. I'm on Bedford. I remember how Bedford used to be wild back in the day. I know it may have cooled down, but nigga, this still New York City. I'm in Atlanta. This ain't my home. You know what I mean? So that type of senses started kicking in. The carnal senses started kicking in heavy. I'm on alert. So now I'm like, I went back in the room. I ain't paid no mind. I started watching the TV again. Lo and behold, that shit rang off again. And I was like, oh shit. So I went out there. I put on my clothes. I put on all my clothes. She put on all her clothes. And I went out there again to open the door. I was like, hello? Nobody, nothing. So that's when I said, yo, let me shape up and then we gonna go get something to eat. That's when I went to the bathroom and that's when that's when all the door shit that I explained earlier, that's when that story comes into part. But I'm explaining how the shit really started with them chandeliers ringing. So, long story short, when they came, and I told them what happened, Anthony came, Isaac came, and we had about an hour talk again. We started talking. When he came through the door, he started doing his little what he do, you know what I'm saying? And then when he came, I was like, damn. I told him I felt like, nigga, you came for this shit. You supposed to have been ready for this type of shit. But I was caught off guard. Because I was there to speak about life after death, of all things. I came up there for a lecture to speak about life after death, out of all things. And I'm having abnormal activities take place, but I ain't catch it at first. I'm just on my New York state of mind. I'm annoyed. Niggas are coming up here and shoot this shit up. You know what I mean? I'm on thinking on my New York state of mind. You know what I mean? Because I was living in East New York, 90s coming up, 80s, going back and forth to New York when we moved to Atlanta. And I used to hear the stories. Niggas getting shot up, niggas coming in niggas' crib getting murdered. I used to be in East New York, niggas getting shot up on the ball court outside, all type of murder. So, your mind start thinking back to that type of shit. You know what I mean? And then you visiting, so I'm like, shit, my mind clicking right now. So he came, did his thing. Then after that, a calmness came over me like, nigga, you came here to speak about this. You know what I mean? Boom, boom, boom. I was like, all right, my calling kicked in. I was like, all right, nigga, boom. So I was on point. I wasn't on fear mode no more to say. I was ready to face whatever was there to face because I get it now. I was like, all right, I'm tuned in. I'm tapped in now. I'm on my Zarathustra shit, nigga. We about to control these spirits if they up in here. So after that happened, and after they left now keep in mind, when they was there, He took down the chandelier and put it in the basement. And when he put it in the basement, he ain't hanging up. He just left it in the basement. So when you walk in and out now, it ain't nothing to hear. So, when they left, everything back to normal. But it was when we got back to Atlanta, my wife said, that same night when he took down the chandelier, my wife said, I ain't want to say nothing. I ain't want to wake you. But after everybody left and we was asleep, when we was about to go to sleep, I heard the chandelier ring off again. I was like, oh, hell no. Get the fuck out of here. She was like, I bullshit you not. I heard that shit like it was right back hanging up where it was at. I was like, oh, hell no. But then we was back in Atlanta when she told me this. She was like, I ain't want to tell you then. You know what I mean? I guess she didn't want to tell me to feel like I'm going to be spooked out. But I ain't hear this shit, though. I may have been asleep, but she said she heard it. But after that, I ain't had no problems. The spirits wasn't active after that. But then I heard another lady who stayed in the temple, and she had the same experience. But with her experience, the spirit actually appeared and showed itself to her. She said she was laying in the bed, and the spirit was standing on the door. It was a man, she said. It was a man spirit. You know what I mean? I don't know if you seen like the silhouette of it, but she said the nigga was standing in the doorway when she was laying down. I ain't see it, but I felt, I seen the activity. But if I would have seen that, bruh, nigga, pew. So that's why I said, although this knowledge of Oahspe is heavy, is deep, and is detailed, but the experience is the game changer. You know what I mean? Ain't too many motherfuckers really experience seeing angels or talking to angels like we talking to somebody or touching them. My wife got a friend who see angels, who see spirit. It's a little girl that used to live with them. Everywhere they go, the little spirit girl will be there to follow them where they live. And in one instance that the girl said the spirit sat on the bed and touched her, yo. She touched the spirit, and she described the spirit as almost like Jello. You know how like Jello, if you touch Jello, but not so sensitive, more condensed. But she described it like a Jello, and she described it being cold. I was like, wow. And through my, studies of spiritual bodies or spirituality, I hadn't heard those things, especially the cold things. Like cold breezes and cold winds, it's signs of spirit. You know what I mean? Your ex-wife from Brooklyn. Yeah, yo, the spirits. Matter of fact, my grandmother's house I grew up in when I was in Brooklyn, East New York, across from Linden Project, Linden Housing. We had that's the house I grew up in. So when my grandfather died, you know what I mean? One year I brought my wife up there. This is my first time I brought my wife to New York. Brought her to the hood. We right there across from the projects. So we sleeping one night. No, before that. Before that. I'm not gonna tell that one. Before that, so one day, I'm in the backyard talking to my man who stayed across from us I grew up with. So we back there talking. He grew a garden, and we out there chopping it up. My wife is in the room upstairs, in the room that my grandfather used to live in. He passed on, but we sleeping in his room. And my grandmother, when she was still alive, she's in the next room. So I'm out in the back talking to my man. So when I finish talking to him, when I go back up, wifey like, yo. She was like, yo, it was a man walking through the house. Because she was in the room. And in the room, the door was like half cracked where you could see the hallway. The kitchen is on the right, and then the living room is like right there. And it's another room right there, so you can see the another room door. So she in the room with the door cracked, and we had a cat too. My peeps had a cat up there, so the door cracked. And when I came back, she was like, yo, it was a man walking back and forth in the hallway. She said he had on all black. He had on a black hoodie, and she said the hoodie looked old. And she said he kept pacing back and forth like he was looking for something. I was like, yo, that's probably my Uncle Garth in the basement. That's my uncle in the basement. And she was like, nah. She's like, that wasn't him. This guy was slim. And he just kept pacing back and forth. And he was acting like he didn't see me. And then she was like, she made a noise like, like to try to like get his attention, like, like I'm here, you know what I mean? Just to, And she said like the nigga paid that shit no mind. And then he started like looking on the table like he was looking for something. And then he said she he went down like he went to the left and down the stairs, like from the window, from the door room crack, you can see the hallway, but coming this way, it's the stairs leading downstairs and out the door. So she said she seen a nigga raving back and forth and then went downstairs. And as he left out her sight to go downstairs in that direction, my cousin was coming up the stairs that exact same moment. And when my cousin came upstairs, she asked my cousin, who was that who was that guy in the all black? And when my cousin was like, who you talking about? She was like, the guy that just walked past. She was like, yo, ain't nobody just walked past. I'm just came in, ain't nobody here. So my cousin thought she about to call the police like somebody broke in because the New York state of mind kicked in. But in actuality, what happened is that my fucking wife seen a spirit moving in the house in all black, hoodied up. So she told me that. I was like, I ain't saying nothing to my mother nor my aunt yet. So that happened. So then the night, we sleeping now at night in the room, my grandfather's room. He passed on. So we sleeping in about 3, 4 in the morning. My wife wake me up out my sleep. Yo. I'm like, what? And she said this, but then I brushed it off and went back to sleep and didn't question what she said till I woke back up. But she woke me up and said this. She said, yo, there was a man standing at the edge of the bed. And he said, I'm going back in the closet now. Nigga, when she said that, I said, huh? And I went back to sleep. That shit spooked me out and I went back to sleep real quick. And then when I woke up and I remembered, I said, yo, what was that shit you said last night? She said, yo, I see the man standing at the edge of the bed and he said, I'm going back in the closet right now. I said, yo, you see my grandfather? And then I pulled out a picture because it's a certain outfit he always wear, the corduroy pants with the button down, with the striped shirts. Button down striped shirts. Like with the cotton field material. I said, him? She said, yeah, he had on that same clothing. I said, oh, hell no. So after that, after those 2 incidents, I said, yo, Mom. I said, yo, Teresa seeing spirits in the house. She seen Grandpa, and she seen a guy walking in all black, pacing back and forth. I said, yo, Ma, who used to live in the house before Grandma and them got it? Because my grandma and them, they got that house in East New York, Brooklyn in the 70s. They had that house since the 70s. So all I know is that house coming up. But I never thought as an adult, well, like, damn, who lived here before? Because, you know, you could live in a house that somebody else previously lived in, and they could have got killed in that motherfucker. You don't know the history. I know a house right now in my neighborhood that somebody lived in, that somebody died in, that they don't even know. I could go and tell them, knock on their door, like, yo, I never told you this, but somebody died in this house. And it was a female who used to live in that house, but prior to the new tenants who lived there, that female used to say she used to have, it used to be a spirit in that house. It was a presence. And we never told her that somebody died in that house. And we never told her that somebody died in that house. But she ended up moving. And then we told her. But this shit real, yo. You know what I mean? My wife experienced that shit in New York. She told me that. I was like, man, y'all tripping. And it's another cat I know, man. My man, my Israelite dude from Haiti. He got some crazy stories. He from Brooklyn. He got some crazy stories about, you know what I mean, spirits of the dead and seeing them and, you know what I mean? Nigga telling me they came through. Just imagine you chilling in the motherfucking spirit. Walk through the wall and just walk through, pass through. Unconscious you there, but they, you know what I mean? It's like the realms cross paths. The realms cross over. The spirits of the dead can show themselves sometimes. You may see that shit. And that shit'll spook you the fuck out. I'm telling you. That shit'll spook you the fuck out if you ain't accustomed and ain't prepared. That's why the Oahspe is so dope, because it gives you so much insight on the spiritual world, the life after death, the nature and conditions of spirits after they live, good or bad. You know what I mean? How they could appear or be unseen, but still present. Straight voodoo shit, exactly. That's exactly what that shit be. And there's a lot of voodoo shit going on in New York. There's a lot of Caribbean people there, there's a lot of Haitians. A lot of Caribbean people are into OBA, into voodoo and certain practices, gypsies and shit like that. A nigga take a chicken and kill that chicken and do a ritual on your ass and put that chicken under your house, and now your ass can't get up out of bed. You bedridden. You know what I mean? I know the stories. I heard about them shits. Come from that shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that shit deep, yo. Casper just be passing through now. Facts. You know what I mean? Hey, let me show you Casper passing through for y'all niggas who just came in. Like, I got pictures of the ancestors of a spirit my man caught on the camera. So this shit real, yo. Bang, you know what I mean? There go Casper right there. Friendly ghost coming through. Now just imagine, and that's daytime. You know, seeing that in daytime is a little bit more like, all right, you know, I seen some shit, I'll be still a little spooked out, but I was like, all right. But just imagine you pulling up in your driveway and it's nighttime and you see that. You see that just staring at your ass. Just standing there. The fear that's going to be driven just from seeing that. You're going to be like, oh, shit, what the fuck is that, a spirit? And then just imagine that motherfucker start walking towards your ass. And you know spirits don't walk like we walk. They do like a locomotion. It's almost like a floating walk. So just imagine, and you know they can move at faster speeds than us because they don't have a terrestrial body to hold them down. So the spiritual body moves at greater speeds than the physical body. That's not even a comparison. So just imagine you see that ancestor right there pulling up at night. You better come home and that motherfucker standing on your porch. You looking at that shit from your car, and then that motherfucker start floating towards your ass. What you gonna do? Hey, how you doing, nigga? Your ass gonna reverse and peel the fuck up out of there. Because we're not accustomed to spirituality. We're not accustomed to seeing spirits. We're not accustomed to communicating with spirits. We ain't accustomed to that shit. But the Oahspe is showing you that this is going on in the life after death. If you think that this is it, if you think that the physical world is it, you live this earthly life, you die and that's it, you in for a rude fucking awakening when you cross over. Oahspe talks about the people who deny death and the hard time they have crossing over in spirit because they think they still alive. Because they think that when they die that was it, that they out of commission. They done for, they sleep. But in the Oahspe, it says when you fucking die, nigga, you more conscious than you was when you were alive. Your spiritual vibration, your spiritual body moving at a faster vibrational frequency. Cruz Collins, Messiah bedroom. Yes, a big man. I heard when you enter your house, you have to add to backwood. They do not want you to see them. Yeah, see, my mother, funny you bring that up. My mother just told me that, yo. Like, if somebody die in the house, when you bring them out the house, you bring them out feet first. You don't bring them out head first when you bring them out the house. See, that's Caribbean folklore superstition. But it's a reason for that. It's old spirituality. See, the Oahspe used to show like rites and ceremonies. That falls in some of those type of things. See, we Americans is totally out of wax with spiritual systems, customs, and culture that we had when we was in Africa. You know what I mean? Like the Caribbeans carry some of those customs and cultures spiritually, but Americans, Black Americans, has been totally disconnected from that. So like when somebody says that when you come, not all of them, don't get me wrong, you got people in a country, like your great-great-grandma who stay in the country, like country people and Caribbean people have a connection. They have a great connection when it comes to understanding living off the land and understanding these spiritual concepts. Because they have country people that got spiritual beliefs as well. I know coming up, you know the whole belief system when they used to say, don't split a pole, you walking with your, and we were teenagers, not even teenagers, we were younger than that. When you walking with your man and you split a pole and you be like, no, don't cross the pole, you got to come back around it. Because it was some superstitious shit. It was like, oh, you curse or whatever the case may have been. But we always had a spiritual, ritualistic, ceremonial type of culture, even in our everyday practice with children. You know what I mean? We had Bloody Mary. I remember we were kids talking about Bloody Mary. Nigga, we tried that shit like, nigga, and we were hood kids. We would get gunshots ringing out in the neighborhood type living environment kids. And we like, fuck it, nigga, we about to test and see if Bloody Mary real. And then when when Candyman came out, we did that too. We tried Candyman ass. Like, nigga, we about to try to see if Candyman worked. We in my man crib, turn off the light. We gonna say Candyman 3 times. So we were playing with that shit. You know what I mean? Through the movies, through the folklore that our parents told us. You know what I mean? That shit real, yo. My mother like, yo, when you take a dead body out the house, you take him in feet out first, not head first. I was like, damn. You know what I mean? Y'all spooking me out. I don't want to hear no more of that shit. Go around Caribbean people and hear the folklores of the Caribbean, Joe. That shit'll have you spooked the fuck out. And this is Caribbean, let alone if you go back to the motherland of Africa, the folklores and the spiritual stories you hear there. And then going back to antiquity, the ancient Kemet, when the pyramids were built, the shit that was going on in the pyramids. When you look how massive the pyramids are, I'm like, my nigga, I ain't going up in that shit. If I ever visit the pyramids, I'm going to go visit that shit, go on the outside, stand on a couple rocks. But going inside that shit, I'm done for. Y'all can have it. I'm not that enthused to go inside. I'll go see it, but I'm not that enthused to go inside. Knowing what these false gods was doing in these goddamn pyramids. Nigga go up in there and nigga be like, oh, that's that nigga Selah Shalom who been exposing us, yo. Put that nigga in one of these cavity caves and we got him. You know what I mean? On some Indiana Jones shit, nigga. You trying to go through the booby traps in that motherfucker. Fuck out of here with that. Y'all can have the pyramids, yo. I'll go visit. I'll see the architect. I'll study everything on the outside. Any of them temples that's too far deep in, y'all can have it. I'm not going in them shits. But all the architect on the outside, you know, you may have the halls with the towers. I'll visit that shit all day. But sooner niggas are like, yeah, let's go into the cave of such and such. It's 40 feet deep. You got to go through and bow down your head. Nah, nigga. I ain't doing none of that shit. Next thing you know, nigga, get stuck in a cave. Or be your luck that some old fucking earthquake happened and now shit collapsed and you, nigga, all that shit be running through my head, nigga. I ain't fucking with that inside the cave shit. I don't do that. We ain't doing that. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, yeah. Because the Oahspe shows you what them niggas was doing. Them niggas was swallowing their tongue going to the death trance in them pyramids. All in order to see the heavenly kingdoms of these false gods, being Osiris at the time. In the death trance, going for a month, a moon cycle, 30 days, and they came back, and the angel had to show them how to regain their body parts, how to resuscitate themselves. You can have that, bro. You know how many lingering spirits probably are. You know how old them pyramids is? You know how many centuries of people that then came and went within the surrounding the pyramids, the spirits of the dead that been lingering from the 23rd to the 24th arc cycle to where we at now? Egypt got the link. You know, you go to Egypt, you may come back with a fucking host of drudges, fucking 900,000, 2,000 years old. You done brought some drudges from fucking Kemet back to the goddamn Americas and shit. Exactly. I ain't calling nothing but Jehovah. I'm straight. That's right. That's why I'll be tripping. I'm like, shit. Y'all keep calling on these gods, yo. They ain't gonna answer your motherfucking prayer, yo. Jesus answered my prayer. Yeah, you believe Jesus answered your prayer. Nigga, just like Jesus is gonna appear to you and goddamn play Jesus. But coming back to the abnormal activities, like when these false gods establish their heavenly kingdom and they have their heavenly kingdom completely set up, they'll send an angel emissary down to one of the kingdoms on earth where they want to conquest, and they'll find a human, a mortal, capable of hearing and seeing angels, just how Luamung came to Constantine, because Constantine was able to hear and see angels, and he was a ruler. So if you're a ruler, that means if you conquer this ruler, then you're going to have dominion over the land. So it's a chess move on the angel side to go after kings and queens or emperors and rulers, because they already have the earthly kingdom established. So if they can influence the mortal king to follow his instruction and lay down his instruction as decrees, laws, statutes, and commandments, and put the stamp on it as the law of the land, that false god just single-handedly conquested that dominion on that part of the earth through that spiritual connection from the angel going to the mortal capable of hearing the voice. And a lot of times the angels will go to the oracles because the oracles are in cahoots with the king. So the king get answers from the oracle on matters of wealth, prosperity, conquest, days when it may rain or whatever. They go to the oracle for those answers. So if the king want to know, it's, we ain't had no rain in 2 days, and he go to the oracle, why we ain't have rain? Then the oracle go to the temple and wait for the angel to tell him what's going on. The angel tell him, the oracle come back to the king. Well, the angels or the ancestors told us that it's a drought coming, and it's going to be a drought for 6 months. That's why there ain't been no rain. And the angel said, prepare, go ahead and harvest all the fruits now and prepare them for 6 months. And the king will go out here and set the decree. So that's how words from the angelical side, messengers from God or whatever, come to mortals, and that's how shit is established. That's how the heavenly instructions or the heavenly kingdoms establish strongholds on the earthly kingdoms through the angels. Now, after they establish themselves, sometimes they may come into cahoots with the lands they're trying to establish, because sometimes that land may have an already established doctrine. So what they're trying to do is they got to either knock out that doctrine and convince the people to believe in this new doctrine, and sometimes they'll go to extreme measures to do that. So here is a verse in the Oahspe where the angels was moving in on mortals to get them to believe by doing abnormal activities in the house of mortals. And the false gods, one thing that I noticed in the book of Wars Against Jehovah, that the false gods made their attacks at midnight. I found that interesting. When you read the book of Wars Against Jehovah and you read the Battle of 1,000 Years, and these are the assault raids of Osiris, Constantine, when you read their stories of how they went to try to take over the lands of Africa, India, and China, they all struck at midnight. They struck at midnight or the going down of the sun, but really midnight is when they actually start being active. Active meaning like these niggas is doing this, doing that, moving shit around the table, unseen to us. You know what I mean? But they in the presence of mortal houses doing shit, moving chairs, unseen to us. So we like getting spooked out. So that's what this verse is talking about right here. So right here it states, let me take a sip on this one. This in the book of Wars Against Jehovah, chapter 22. And now came the third assault raid of Osiris. Legions of angels inspired desperately by the harassment of their generals and captives. And every mortal was marked out. Now see that? Showing you these niggas ain't coming out here just wishfully thinking fucking with mortals. It says here that every mortal was marked out. So say for example, they're coming to take over the city of New York in order to inspire their whatever they got going on. It said that every mortal, what's the population of New York? Let's just say 2 million. So they got 2 million niggas marked out. So it says every mortal was marked out. And his degree of faith in the Great Spirit known. So the destroyers knew well where to strike effectively. So the way these angels get a grasp on mortals is based off your inspiration of the Creator. If your inspiration is strong in the Creator, they ain't going to have no influence over you. They're going to bypass you. And they're going to go. So if your inspiration of the Creator is 100%, they bypassing you. Because they got 2 million people to play with. So to make this in layman terms, you got 2 million people in New York City. And each person got a percentage on their head. And that percentage goes from 0 to 100. All the percentage that are in the 90s, the angels are like, we ain't gonna get them because their numbers is too high. But they may see some numbers that may be 40, 30, 20. And those are the percentage of people who have inspiration of the Creator that is a no number. So they're more doubtful in the belief of God or the Creator with a low percentage number like that. But the niggas who got 100% who fully believe in the Creator, they leaving them alone. So again, it states here, and every mortal was marked out, and his decree of faith in the Great Spirit known. So the destroyers knew well where to strike effectively. Verse 2. At midnight again came the Osirians. See that? So the first time they came at midnight, now again they come in at midnight. So, what's the story? The freaks come out at night. The freaks come out at night. So, midnight is when the spirits of darkness come out. The spirits of darkness come out at night. The spirits of darkness come out at night. So, midnight is when these things took place. And it was nighttime when I was in the Cosmon Temple. Around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock is when the activities started taking place. So again, verse 2 states, at midnight again came the Osirians, rushing on, and by force of numbers laid their hands on many mortals, millions. So it said by force of numbers laid their hands on mortals. These are angels talking about laying their hands on mortals. So now, what does it say next? Held fast and hurled missiles furiously about the sleeping apartment to arouse from sleep their mortal victims. So these niggas is making sounds in the apartment to wake mortals up from sleep. And then it states, who to wake and see no cause for the whirling, stools and tables and terrible noises and blows in every corner of the houses. So they sprang up affrighted after hearing this, and at a loss to know what to do. In many places the angels of Dias spoke audibly in the dark. See that? See, that's that bullshit. That's that bullshit. You over there trying to be peaceful, having a nightly sleep, a rest. You know, when you go to sleep, all the lights is off in the dark. So just imagine your ass in the dark sleep. First you wake up hearing sounds, and then you hear niggas say this in the dark. Because it says in many places, the angels of Dias spoke audibly in the dark, saying, there is but one God, Adonai El, Akkad El. Even the Lord, Adonai, your God, El. Great Dias on the throne of Horeb. Bow down in reverence before him, or destruction and death shall be your doom. Now just imagine you in your damn house sleep, and you hear that voice. Come on, let's be real. The first thing you're going to do is panic and turn on the light to see if it's a motherfucker standing right there with a gun pointed at you, about to take your damn life. So you turn on the light, ain't nobody there. You just heard that voice. Now you really bugging. You may grab your strap, go through the house to see if this nigga may be hiding somewhere. You go throughout the whole house, ain't nobody there. Now you open the door, look out, no car there. You go through the back, ain't nobody there. But the voice was there, like the nigga was in the room. So how these fallen angels and their angel emissaries be fucking with mortals. Instead of progressing in the grades, doing some righteous shit, they want to come down, fuck with mortals, make us fearful of them, so we could be subservient slaves to them niggas after we die. That's why it's important to focus on the Creator and none else. This is the time of the Book of Wars against Jehovah. So this time period is within 4th millennium BC to 15th century BC. Within that time period. This is the conquest of Osiris. So again, it said, in many places the angels of Dias spoke audibly in the dark, saying, there is but one God, even the Lord your God, great Dias on the throne of Horeb. Bow down in reverence before him, or destruction and death shall be your doom. See that? These niggas talking destruction and death shall be your doom. The Osirian angels, gloating in their much success, now filled every house where they had fastened on, and made all such places headquarters for their captains and generals, and thousands and tens of thousands of angel servants, who were proud and boastful, most hilarious in knocks and hideous noises about the house's walls. So look what the fucking verse just said. It said the Osirian angels now filled every house and fastened this. So these niggas is in your crib, bro. These niggas is in your crib, first telling you to worship the Lord or you're going to be destroyed. They making noises in the crib. Now they making more noises with the crib with angels stationed in your damn house. And this is how these false gods conquest. You know what I mean? This is how they put fear in mortals by doing abnormal, paranormal activities and shit. So it said that the Osirian angels, gloating in their much success, now filled every house where they had fastened on, and made all such places headquarters for their captains and generals and thousands and tens of thousands of angel servants, who were proud and boastful, most hilarious in knocks and hideous noises about the house walls. So sometimes if you in the house and you hear some knocks on the wall, don't be surprised. But not in all cases had the Osirians won, but were in hundreds of thousands of families overcame or baffled till the rising sun, which drove them off, leaving the Jehovians still victorious. But sufficient was the glory unto Osiris and his legions, wherefrom messengers were sent to Darius speedily with most exaggerated tales of their victorious win. So after they did a couple good, after they, almost, they may have got a couple victims that night, but then they went to Darius talking about like, yeah, nigga, we got like, 2 million this night, but the nigga may have got like 20,000, exaggerating the story. So it shows you here that in the Oahspe that these angels, these fallen angels and they false gods could come into your house and fuck with you, long just being in blunt layman terms. So not only do we got to deal with the criminals and the motherfuckers in the streets, you got to deal with unseen entities that could do abnormal activities in your crib, yo. That's how deep this shit get. This is why the Oahspe say, I come to reveal things you know not of. And this is exactly what it is, man. Yeah, you'd be surprised, like, children at 5 years old, they can know right from wrong and shit. Children at 5, they be smart as hell. You got kids when the time they turn 7 and 8, they be cunning like a motherfucker. They be outwitting the parents. You know what I mean? And now understanding this side of the Oahspe, how angels can engraft themselves. So if you live in a highly populated society where a lot of killing is going on, and you know what I mean, you live in an old city and there's a lot of people in that city, and it's a concentrated environment, like a thick environment like New York, you have a lot of spirits that could easily influence children. It can influence mortals, grown adults. Like, look at when COVID came. Look at the spike in violence and murder since 2020, since the COVID hit. We going right back in the 80s right now. We back in the 80s. That 11-year cycle from 1980 to 1990, we about to relive that whole 80s era. The violence in New York is just like back in the 80s. They back doing the graffiti. You see what I'm saying? So it's cycles, sub-cycles within the cycles. You got the grand cycles, you got the sub-cycles. and things repeat. Right. Exactly, yo. You judge by 5. And the Oahspe says when the sinking of the continent of Pan was to take place, that 5 Etherian angels was assigned to 1 mortal. That's to show you how serious the situation is for 5 mortals to be assigned. To 5 Etherian angels to be assigned to 1 mortal during the time of the sinking of the continent of Pan. So these angels, although they highly advanced, it's still work and labor. It's still trial. It's still error, and not error in a sense like a mistake, but like it ain't like a perfect run. It's gonna be a little struggle. Like even if you read the book of Fragapati was an Etherian angel that came to deliver a lot of the hells during his reign, and when he went to go deliver hell with with Hoab, them niggas needed help. It wasn't like they was delivering hell like it was a piece of cake. Them niggas had real work on their hand. They was delivering that knots and hell, separating it. Then another hell start forming over here. He was like, yo, let me get another 200,000 angels. I need help over here. Boom, boom, boom. So it wasn't like peaches and cream delivering these hells. It was real work they had to put in. You know what I mean? And when I read that, I found that interesting because a lot of times we think when we get in these heavens, everything is going to be a piece of cake. Everything is going to be on some Superman shit. But it's like, nah, these niggas are still struggling to do, just like building a tower, the Trump Towers or one of these big buildings in the city. It looks glorious when it's done, but the struggle to get it done, it was hell. It was trial and error. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. Don't nothing come easily like that. You know what I mean? You got to go through the experience, through the trial and error. And as you advance, then it becomes more easy and perfected. That's why when the Etherian comes, when they clean up hell within a time period of 3 to 7 years. At the beginning of every arc cycle of 3,000 years, let me get that real quick. Let me give you the visual of the arc cycle. Where it's at. The beginning of the arc cycle of every 3,000 years, the archangels, they only stay for 3 to 5 years. That's it. So these arc cycles you see right here, these lines, this is 3,000 year periods. But the archangels, they only come for 3 to 5 years. So out of 3,000 years, the archangels only come for 3 years. Let me see if I can find the arc cycle. Let me see if I can get y'all the arc cycle here, right here. Boom. So this is an arc cycle of 3,000 years. Now the first 200 years is under the rule of the Etherians. They go ahead and put things in perspective. And then after that, every 400 years, the rulers are atmospherian gods. Gods risen up from the earth, from the corporeal earth, risen up in spirit to the third heaven, and then they're crowned God, and then the successions of the gods begin. But at the beginning of an arc cycle of 3,000 years, so at the beginning here, the Etherians come 3 to 5 years. When I say the Etherian, the chief Etherian, the main head honcho, he comes for 3 to 5 years, clean up whatever hells that there are, give the new instructions for the next for that 3,000 years, and then he ascends back up to his Etherian realm, and he may leave assistant Etherian angels to help basically finesse the arc cycle for that first 200 years. So for the first 200 years, the Etherians are present, but the chief Etherian who came and opened up the arc cycle, they leave out within 3 to 5 years. So out of 3,000 years, they only here for 3 to 5 years. That's why we don't know nothing about the higher angels. That's why we don't know nothing about the archangels. We hear glimpses of them, But we don't know too much of them because they only come momentarily. They only hit shortly. But the atmospherian angels, the angels that exist within the first, second, and third atmosphere, these would be considered your lords, your gods, and Lord gods. So we'll know more about the gods and the Lord gods than we'll know more about the archangels and the etherian angels, because they come and they stay for shorter time periods. They only come for 3 to 5 years. So that's why you don't hear nothing about the archangels in that sense. Or you don't hear too much about the etherian angels. The Bible, don't nobody in the Bible know about etherian angels. That's why we brought it to people's attention. They like, what's an etherian? What's that? You know what I mean? Then once we say etherian angels, then you gotta explain etheria. Etheria is the regions, like here. What I said. Just using this as an illustration. You know what I mean? So the etherians would be. Let me see here. So like here, you got the lower heavens and you got the higher heavens. The higher heavens is basically the third atmospheric plateau. The third atmospheric plateau is called the exosphere. That's the highest atmospheric plateau. We got the exosphere, meaning exit. Exit meaning out. Outside of the exosphere is the etheria. That's why I got etheria at the top of this illustration. So from the earth, which is the lowest, which is Haiti, the lowest, and then you got the highest, which is etheria, the exosphere, and then the mesosphere, meaning the middle atmosphere, that's midway between, and then above, outside of the atmosphere of the earth, above the exosphere, you got the etherian realm. But then you have the etherian realm, and then you have the etherian angels that exist in that realm. And those etherian angels that exist in that realm are angels that graduated from the lower heavens and the earth and now exist in the etherian realms. And this same rules apply for every single planet that is inhabitable with human beings that are in their inhabitable age. Because keep in mind, the earth goes through inhabitable ages. See what I'm saying? Every planet goes through 4 ages. These inhabitable ages. And once you understand that, you'll understand that in creation, this is how the Creator got it laid out. See that? See where it says creation of mortals to the extinction of mortals? Every inhabitable planet goes through that phase. And it is during that time that that planet produces mammal, animal, and man. So the same way our planet produced animal and man, and we have the capabilities after death of becoming ancestors or angels with the titles of God and Lord as we progress, that same rules apply to every single inhabitable planet in the cosmos. So that's why we're not alone. It's just that the earth of that planet, wherever it may be, got to be in its inhabitable age. If it's not in an inhabitable age, then there is no human population or none of that. It's like barrenness. It may be in the age of barrenness, or it may be in the age of death, or it could be in the time of creation. But when that planet hits the time of inhabitation, where it's suitable for the living, vegetation, animal, and man, that's when man has the potential of becoming angel and becoming gods during the earth's inhabitable age. That's the science. See that? Shit went deep, yo. So that's half. What you see there is half the inhabitable age. That's where we at right now. It's 2 blocks, but the second block with the earth is in the middle, that's where we at. That's the midway point of the inhabitable age. We 72,000 years in. From the creation of man to right now is 72,000 years. Just using that as layman terms. And then we have another 72,000 years before we become extinct. And that will make up 144,000 years right there. So from the creation of man to the extinction of man is 144,000 years. That's 12,000 years broken down as an era. Each era is 12,000 years, giving you 144,000 years. Or 6 24,000 year periods give you 144,000 years. So however you want to play with the math, because a Gadol period It's 24,000 years. So we got 6 24,000 year periods for the inhabitable time of mortals on earth. And we have done 3 24,000 year periods since then. The first 24,000 years, the second 24,000 years was the time of the flood. So from the creation of man to the flood, let's go to it right quick. Let me show y'all. From the creation of man to the flood. So that's the flood. That's the flood right there. That's the creation of man. So from the creation of man to the flood, that's 2 24,000 year periods. That's 48,000 years. So that's 2 28,000 year period. That's 2 Gadol periods. That's 2 of these right here. See that? So where it says 98 Gadol degrees, and then it says 98 Gadol degrees. So at the border of 98, 97 is when the flood took place. See that? This shit is a science. This shit is a mathematical science, God. When the gods and the 5%ers, when they talk about mathematics, this is the mathematics of the Creator. This is the timetables of prophecy. So from the flood, so from the creation of man to the flood, it's 2 Gadol periods, 24,000 years. And from the flood to where we at now, the 25th arc cycle, boom. That's 24,000 years. So with that being said, that's, hold on, 25th arc cycle. Let me go to the 25th arc cycle. Bam, that's it. Right there. So from the flood, right there, the 17th arc cycle, to the 25th arc cycle, is another 24,000 years. So from the creation of man to our present time, it's 3 24,000 year periods, which gives us 72,000 years. 72,000 years, which is the halfway mark of the habitable age. Right there. Hold on, wait there. Bang, right there. So that's where we at, the halfway mark of the inhabitable age. So we got another 3,000 years. I mean, we got another 72. We got 3 more 24,000 year periods before man become extinct as to the planet. That's all we got. So that's the mathematics based off the timetables of prophecy that the Oahspe shows you for the existence of man. So like I'm going to read a verse from the timetables of prophecy, or the cosmogony of prophecy, where it talks about man's inhabitable time dealing with the vortexia current. Your body is vortexia current. It generates vortexia current. And they got to deal with your sperm, your egg for the woman. Because if you can't reproduce and don't have offspring, that means you go extinct. So we'll come to a point where the body is gonna become barren, where it's not gonna be able to generate seed, or produce seed, I should say. Where the seed of man will become barren. Yeah, the shit get deep. Let me see if I can find that verse. We'll talk about that. About man's existence. There you go right here. So here, it states, to find the Simuan age, especially for man, places temperature at 99 for good health. So where you see here on the chart where it say 99, right there, that's what it's talking about. So it says to find the Simuan age. The Simuan age is the time of creation, the time of, especially for man. It said places temperature at 99 for good health. So 99 Gadol degrees, this is the time period that man was created. That's the first 24,000 year period within the first half of the second age. So now, to find the Simeon age, especially for man, places temperature at 99 for good health. So that's 99 get all degrees for good health. Now here it states on the next verse, it states, and 102 at inflammation or death. So 102 is inflammation or death for man, meaning to say that the earth is unsuitable at that get all degree temperature for man to even exist. So 72,000 years prior to man's existence, the earth was unsuitable for man. So again, the verse states, to find the Simeon age for man places temperature at 99 degrees for good health, right there. But at 102 is inflammation or death. And then it states, 4 below normal. What is normal? 99. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 below normal is 95, 90, 94, 90, 95, 94. Right? So 4 below normal, therefore, will be the period of man's inhabitation on the earth. So right here it's telling you the extinction of man is going to come when the earth reaches 94 get all degrees. On here it says the 6, because I just copied 1 from 6. 1 from 6, and then 1 from 6 again, but it's really 12. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the 7th get all degree, really and truly, is when man was created. And then you got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the 12th get all degree is when man will go into extinction. So 4 below normal will therefore be the period of man's inhabitation. 4 below normal is the 94th get all degree. So these get all degree, these boxes, those are 12 boxes. Those are your 12,000 year periods that's giving you your 144,000 years. So now, he said after the Vortexian, it says after the Vortexian radiation reaches this point, meaning that after the vortex reaches the 94th get all degree, it said after it reaches that point, it says man will cease to propagate and so become extinct as to the earth. See that? Oahspe is telling you the time period that man will become extinct off the planet based off these Vortexian degrees and based off these 24,000 year time periods. So it says, this giveth man 8 degrees of vortexia as the sum of his existence. 1 degree is equivalent to 12,160,000 radar Sivorkum. The serpent's coil will be 1 1/4, that is 24,000 years to the time of completion. And then they give you some mathematics. Thus 12,700,000 divided by 260 added by 1. Yeah, give you some crazy math right here. But then it sums up, it says 76,750 years, the time of the Simeon age for man. To this should be added 1 cycle of, to say, 3,000 years, which was the beginning of the fall of Simeon. By reversing these measures, find the actual decrees of the earth in 78,000 years, which will be adjusted, which will just be 1 minute and 3/40 of a second annually, which is the earth's decline in speed. For which reason the first race of man on earth began about 78,000 years ago. 78,000 years ago. So that'll be during the time of creation, what you see right there. So the Oahspe goes deep with the mathematics, with planetary temperature. Because how do you know? I'm going to go into that again about planetary inhabitation. I mean, not planetary temperature. Yeah, planetary temperature too, but planetary inhabitation. Because I'm going to get a globe of the planet and show you the vegetation of the planet and the barrenness where nothing can grow and generate on the planet, like your deserts. and show you how much of the earth is becoming a desert, which is showing the time of barrenness on the planet. See, the planet is going to go to a time where vegetation is going to become exhausted. All vegetation is going to become looking like a desert. The whole planet is going to become like the Sahara Desert. The deserts in Arizona like the Grand Canyon. The whole planet is going to get like that. And then when the planet gets like that, it's going to be in this third age called the age of barrenness, where nothing can generate and glow on the planet. And then the planet will have to go through another cycle and come back around where vegetation and all that can grow again. Those are the 4 ages: the time of creation, the time of inhabitation, which we are in now, the time of barrenness, where nothing can generate on the planet, and the time of dissolution, where the planet is dissipated, only to be formed again, and the process starts over. That is the function of all creation in the cosmos. So the same way we are in our inhabitable time in our planet, there are other celestial bodies and planets that are in their inhabitable time, just like us, and is just as curious and wondering if there's other life out there just like us. And with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings, and we're going to vibe out, and we're going to ride out into the cosmos, because it's a vibes, and you know how we do, family. It's a vibes. Peace, family. Enjoy the night. Have a great night. May the Creator be with you as you sleep. Sleep is the connection between the spiritual world and the physical world. It is during the hours of sleep that the angels make their connection with your spirit. Be vigilant. Be aware. Seek to be conscious in your sleep. Because there the angels and the ancestors seek to give you answers. So when you wake up in the morning, the answers will be there. But remember, because the dreams you'll forget. And then when you wake up throughout the day, it may hit you and you will remember. And if the message is there, remember the message. Because the ancestors are talking, the angels are talking. Through sleep. Enjoy. Selah Shalom, and we out.